Well, we have just under 3.5 hours to go in the American Le Mans Series Monterey Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, presented by Tequila Patron. Third round of the series this year, and the third very different look that we've had at how and where you can go motor racing, from the wide open spaces and flat of the airfield, former airfield that is Sebring, and the 12-hour race to 2 hours around the city streets of Long Beach, and now the ups and downs and the elevation changes of Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, and a 6-hour race into the evening time. Although having it at this time of year, I looked at my watch yesterday at race end, Jeremy, it won't be dark at 7:30 Pacific time tonight when this race ends.
That's true, and what is going to be interesting to see whether the coastal fog moves in before then, because we've had that last couple of days and the temperature drops dramatically, like to 30 degrees or more, and that could make things very, very difficult towards the closing stages. Yeah, at least they're going to be able to see where they're going, but whether they're going to have the same sort of grip levels that they've got right now, we shall see. Now,
Jeremy noticed, as did many of our viewers and listeners who are tuned in around the world via various means on the internet and AmericanLeMans.com, ALMS.com. They're obviously watching the timing and scoring as well, Jeremy, and you noticed that at the head of the field, times for at least a couple of the drivers beginning to come down.
Yeah, a couple of laps ago by both Frank Montagny and Martin Plowman in the 055 and a 37 car. They're currently running second and third in P2. They both set their fastest laps of the race, as I say, right on top of each other. 117.975 for Montagny and 117.992 for Martin Plowman. And that's the HPD Honda against the Morgan Nissan of Martin Plowman. So both those two cars running very, very well indeed. Martin Plowman, he's a lap down as a result of that extra stop that number 37 car had to make with David Heinemann Hansen earlier on when they ran over one of their air hoses. So that cost them that lap, has caused them to go a lap down to the race leader in P2, the class leader in P2, Luis Diaz, who's running second overall. But still, Luis has got the best lap of anybody in P2 at the moment at 117.6, and the gap that he has over Frank Montagny is around about a minute. Martin Plowman actually has just been into the pit lane again one more time on lap 104. His last stop was lap 66, so that's probably about right on schedule.
Martin Plowman will stay in the car. This will be a fuel-only pit stop. The team is looking to make up some of the ground that they've lost throughout the race. So this one is purely about strategy. They're going to get him some fuel and send him back out. But over the Le Mans break, if you want to follow Martin Plowman and you're here in the U.S., he's doing a blog with Men's Health Magazine. You can track him as he travels all over the country doing a promo on fuel saving for the car. So make sure you keep an eye on that. But Martin Plowman's already back out.
Yeah, it's an interesting project, this, with the Roush Ford engine, as we with the sorry, that's the P2 car, isn't it? Yeah, we're talking about the
number 2 car. The number 2 also car in P2. Yeah, so that Libra Racing, Project Libra. It is an interesting experiment. This one too, though, you know, Eric Bachelard run for many years, a very competent driver in his own right, former Indy Lights champion, racing Champ Cars, run his own team in Champ Cars and in IRL and just about anything, and he's set his sights on sports car racing now. He's done this deal to run this Morgan chassis. He started out life as a Pescarolo chassis, then an Oak Pescarolo, and then this year Jacques Nicolet, who owns the Oak Racing team, did a deal with Morgan to rebrand these cars. And he started off with a Judd engine in this car, and then right away after Sebring, Bachelard decided they needed to get a Nissan engine, and that's what they had for Long Beach. And as we talked about earlier,
that wasn't a very long time either. They shot to turn that around.
It was a great job they did, and they woulda, coulda, shoulda won P2 at Long Beach.
The P2 leading 95 from Level 5 Racing comes to make their pit stop. That's Luis Diaz climbing out and Scott Tucker getting in to take over driving duties. A long opening stint for Luis Diaz, who did a great job to bring this car in first place. Now this is a 2-car team, the 95 and the 055. They have a total of 4 drivers, but you'll see that there's 3 names on each car. Scott Tucker and Frank Montagny will be driving in each of the cars. So Scott Tucker started in the 055. Now he takes over in the 95, and he'll have this Honda HPD with some fresh tires, and as soon as they finish getting him strapped in here, we saw a problem with him getting buckled in at Long Beach as well. It was a delayed stop. We see that happening yet again here with Scott Tucker in the 95. He collects points full season in the 055, so that'll be the car that he'll really focus on, but the 95 on its way back out pit lane.
Was it just me, or was it a bit of a struggle for Luis Diaz to get out there? He seemed to need quite a bit of help to get out of that car. It's not like he's the biggest guy, as Scott Tucker takes the car back out down the pit. He needs to stay to the left and not rejoin the track here as some of the support series do. Got to go right around. Very easy on cold sticker tyres, and you can see on the left-hand side, the reason we call them stickers is they have stickers on them because they're new. That's telling you the compound and the construction. Really easy to spear straight off there and embarrassingly end up in the kitty litter. And I've got to tell you, far more experienced drivers than Scott Tucker have done that down the years. So Lucas Lurr stroking the 6 Muscle Milk car at the moment. The head of the field, he's completed 111 laps. Frank Montagny has assumed second place in the 055 car for the moment, ahead of this one, the 95, in third with Scott Tucker, but of course the 055 owes us a pit stop.
It does, and we expect that probably in about 4 or 5 minutes time. Last time there was about that length of time between the 2 pit stops on the 95 and the 055.
Now there is a pit lane violation, and they've done a Dindo Capello. For those of you who were WEC watchers last weekend at Spa, an unusual one, engine running while refueling. Dindo just fired it up slightly too early before they were finished, and he had to come in for a stop and go. And same problem, engine running while refueling for the 95 car. So Scott Tucker will have to come in, and
whether that explains why it looked like it was a struggle for Luis to get out of the car. Maybe Luis wasn't planning on getting out of the car. I don't know. I mean, unlike him, certainly, you know, he's an experienced driver in the American Le Mans Series. He knows the rules. He knows you have to switch off the engine if you're going to be refueling the car. But I don't know what happened there. It's very strange. It's certainly going to cost him. Luis had pulled out, as we said a little while ago, he'd pulled out about a minute over the 055 car. The front Montagny now at the wheel. And Frank, actually, as we say that, he's just turned his best lap of the race, 1:17.697. GT cars now on pit lane.
And we see Joey Hand taking his pit stop here in the 56 BMW. It certainly hasn't been a completely clean race for this team. Joey Hand, the young American who's really rising through the ranks at BMW. He's now running in sort of the top tier over in Europe, sports car racing. He said it's such an honor to fly the American flag over in Europe. He's the only American in the series, and he said it really makes him proud to represent his country over there.
Yeah, that's the DTM, the German touring cars that Joey is racing in, and was second best BMW there a couple of weekends ago. They've since had their first race victory under somewhat controversial circumstances. Oh, and there you go. He runs off onto the kitty litter. Exactly what we were talking about when we were on board with Scott Tucker. And the 56 car on its way out of the pits with Joey Hand. Joey just a little bit over-enthusiastic coming into that hairpin. Just dropped the right-hand Dunlops into the gravel. No harm, no foul. So easy to loop the car and get stuck in that gravel between the pit lane and the track, but he's managed to avoid that embarrassment. Heads up the hill. Amazing to see, Jeremy, just how gentle even the GT, the quite heavy GT cars, have got to be on their opening lap or laps before the heat and the temperature gets into the racing tyres.
Yeah, no tyre warmers in ALMS racing, and so the drivers have to, you know, work hard to get some temperature into the tyres. And you know, as we talked about earlier on, these tyres they really only work when they get to a certain temperature. There's a lot of temperature already in the brakes. However, having done the previous stint couple of stints in the car, so that'll certainly help to get the tyres up to the proper optimal working temperature. And then again, once they jump on the brakes going at the first couple of corners and really work these tyres, then they come up to speed pretty quickly. But it does take, you know, a lap or so, even though it's fairly warm here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. It certainly isn't really particularly hot, but you know, on different days it'll take different amounts of time to really get these tyres to where they are performing at their best.
We talk about getting up the pressure as well. In fairness, the change in pressures are negligible nowadays. They are filled with other substances than just even dried air. A lot of people use dried compressed air as the leader goes, as the Dyson rather goes through. But they tend to use an inert gas mix now, which is far less temperature sensitive, so far more stable. Very small changes in the pressures of tyres on racing cars makes a huge difference, because the tyres themselves are such a big part, Jeremy, of the suspension.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the flex in the tyre walls there. It's interesting just looking back from this onboard when they're coming up the hill up toward the corkscrew. You could see there were three wide, weren't there? Three completely different cars, and you can see there's not an awful lot of room on this racetrack, so you really do have to pay attention.
Yeah, it looks wide enough when you're standing on it, or you go around on a golf cart, but put three cars, a GTC car, a GT and a prototype side by side, and all of a sudden you're running out of space pretty quickly. The real estate gets to be premium, as much of it is round here, in fairness. It is a beautiful part of the world. Fans have come out in force to support the race, and we had the grandstands absolutely chocker at the start of the race, but many people will have taken the opportunity, as you can do here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, to take a walk around the circuits and have a look from a few different vantage points. There's your leader.
Yeah, maybe put another lap on Joey Hand there. And Joey Hand, once again, the BMWs here are one of the first of the GT cars to come onto pit lane for routine service each time. That's interesting to me. Not quite getting the same fuel consumption as some of the other contenders, it would seem. Talk briefly about another change farther back in GT Challenge. You talked about the number 22 car with Cooper McNeil at the wheel closing on Bob Fayetta, and that has been a change of the lead now. So Cooper McNeil in that WeatherTech car for Alex Job Racing is now in the lead of GT Challenge.
That gives me an opportunity to run down the other classes as well. So it's Cooper McNeil from Bob Fayetta by 12.5 seconds, 22 from 24. Third in category, fighting back, Sebastian Blekemolen in the 34, the pole sitting. That's the Green Hornet GTC car. All on, well, Bob Fayette's just gone through. They're all on the same lap though. Just seconds between them. In the
it's a good battle developed.
Yeah, it is, and the thing is,
going to come down to really a lot of fun at the end.
Just what I was going to say.
Sorry.
No, I don't mind at all. Just what I was going to say. That you just know that in the last 20 minutes we're going to be going, hang on a second, they're all together again.
Yeah, and it's going to be like a Michelin Super Cup race, isn't it, in Europe?
Absolutely right. Let's go down to the pits.
The PC leader, the 06 Core Autosport, just parked. Tom Kimber-Smith, obviously being his first time here, still keeping the lead. He started in second place, but he's moved up to first. Alex Popov is going into the car, just getting strapped up. This is a scheduled pit stop. All four tires are being changed. Fuel has been refueled as well. Having a little bit of trouble with the left rear, but he's off again.
In the background, you might have just seen the Frank Montani second place 055 car taking its pit stop. There it goes out of the pits, and Scott Tucker should have come around and retaken second place. I think Archie Hamilton was in the pits as well from second in the PC category, so he'll give up that position. So has Ken Dobson come round in the PR1 Mathewson Motorsports to take the lead in PC? I think he may just have done, actually. No, he hasn't. Not yet. He's on the lead lap, but he's not back through. So I think the 06 car, with Alex Popper now at the wheel, is out without giving up that lead, Jeremy.
That would be a pretty stout effort by those guys. It certainly was an excellent opening stint by Tom Kimber-Smith. He was on a charge there, turning consistent laps really, considering his lack of experience, never been here to Mazda Raceway before, to be running the pace he was running so consistently, hats off to him.
And a great battle for what is now second place in PC, with the 52 of Ken Dobson just mentioned, and the number 8 of Kyle Marcelli, just a couple of tenths behind him as they went across the line last time. Now, we were saying earlier on that Kyle Marcelli was quite far down the pecking order. I think he was down in 8th, well off the pace in PC anyway at that time, but he's fought his way back and now challenging in 3rd position and challenging for 2nd as Alex Papo gets, well, and the leader is in the pit lane. Lucas Lohr looks to be staying behind the wheel of the Muscle Milk car.
Lucas Lohr will stay behind the wheel of the car. The team is giving him a fresh drink bottle. They weren't sure if they were going to take tires. The Michelin engineer just gave the team a thumbs up. I believe this will be a fuel-only scheduled pit stop. This team's looking to run through their strategy. You see on the car that says, "Get well, Tim," on the side of this car. This is for Flying Lizard Motorsports. His brother Tim was involved in an accident last week. All of the teams on pit lane, they're really supporting their competitor Jorg and his brother Tim this weekend.
No tyres. One of the real advantages of this big hole in the top of the wings is, of course, that the tyre engineers can get the laser pyrometer pointed at them and have a look at them, see what the temperatures are. You can't touch them, remember, while the fuel's going in, but you're not touching it with a laser. They can actually get a good look across the whole of the tread of those tyres without having to crawl around underneath and around the back of the car. A Michelin tyre engineer, effectively a team member. Oh, and there is one of the GTC cars off, and there's a prototype car in there as well. This is a turn.
Level 5 cars?
It is one of the level 5 cars, and that is the JDX Porsche, and full course caution, and I've got a feeling that that is the Scott Tucker car. It's not, it's Monterey, my apologies. If there's two to pick, he picks the wrong one. It's at the pit lane entrance, isn't it? That's in the pit lane entrance. And the JDX car has completely wrecked its radiators at the front, and they are at the front of the Porsche. Montani, well, we've seen him walking away from Peugeots in the past looking like this, haven't we? Well, that's...
and that's, you know, that must have happened coming out of turn 10.
Well, he's on his outlap. Montani's on his outlap. So Montani's on his outlap. Here it is, on board. As he comes round, and he's pulled it in front of him. Oh, he did exactly the same at Silverstone in the Peugeot, driving past a GT car, going into Stowe last year, and pulled back in front of the JDX car before he cleared it.
Yeah, it was busy down there with the 3 cars all together. He's trying to pass a couple of cars there, Frank Montagny, and yeah, it certainly looks like he misjudged it there. Poor Chris Cumming comes off, even worse.
And Chris has been on the radio, says the car's done.
Yeah, it's
you can look at the different colour on the sand there, down to the right-hand side of the picture. That is all Porsche fluids, essential fluids from Porsche. They shouldn't be in the sand. They should be in the front of the Porsche.
Oh, well, what a shame. I mean, the Chris Cumming and the rest of those guys in that number 11 car have been doing a really, really nice job. Matthew Marsh and Martin Ragginger would have been finishing up. Martin Ragginger would have been finishing off the race in that car, and he's fast, and that car has been fast all weekend long. That's a major disappointment for JDX Racing.
Well, last year at Silverstone, in what was then called the ILMC, Frank Montani in the Peugeot going into what I still think of as the first corner at Silverstone, the old first corner now that they've moved the pits at Copse, very fast down the old start-finish straight. He dragged past the slower car and then retook the racing line, and as he was doing that, moving to the left, did exactly what appears to have happened there and caught the left rear of his car onto the right front of the car he was passing.
And Frank Montani, the new driver at level 5 Motorsports, and you said about a little while ago that he was down to drive both of these cars along with Scott Tucker.
Yeah.
His first drive with this team, and as you also said, it's a 055 car in which the team owner, Scott Tucker, is nominated to score points. He cannot now score points in the number 95 car, which is the car he is driving at the moment.
Yeah, that is a very good point, and that has championship implications.
Very much so.
For the P2 category. P2 swelled by a couple of extra entries, and we hear there's a possibility of more coming. through the second half of the season, which isn't actually the second half in terms of numbers of races, but second half time-wise. The American Le Mans Series, in common with most of the sports car series around the world, take a break from now until after Le Mans. So after this race, there's a little cessation of hostilities, and we come back in July, as it is for the American Le Mans Series, up at Lime Rock Park in another beautiful part of the world, up in Connecticut. Beauty of a different type there, much greener, and a natural terrain road circuit. It's not dissimilar in terms of the rise and fall, but a little bull ring, and one of the fastest circuits that we get to. We reach on the American Le Mans Series calendar. So under full course caution number 3 is that, Jeremy? Yes. With just over half distance to go, 3 hours and 8 still to run. And Lucas Löhr then with a couple of laps now on the rest of the field. Scott Tucker in second. Martin Plowman then in the 37 goes up into third overall, second in P2.
Yeah, and we've just got to wait now until things settle down, and when they do the realign the field as to whether he is now back on the lead lap with the leader in P2. I'm not sure.
I don't think he is, and what will happen is, if we haven't got the leader picked up by the pace car, and I have to say that I didn't notice whether we had or we hadn't there, they will wave by to, if necessary, the first class leader. The two flying lizards going through a great shot, that is. That's fun, isn't it? Look at the depth of field on that. Sorry, getting arty there, but if you're a camera buff, you will know that things close up and things in the distance are very difficult to keep in focus, and that's called depth of field. And we had mega depth of field from that tight shot as it came across the brow. So, who does this benefit, if anybody, Jeremy? Well, everybody's just done pit stops not so long ago. I mean, the standard thinking in most forms of racing.
It doesn't benefit.
Well, no, obviously the two guys are in the wall, but yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
I do love working with you. The standard thinking is that you'll take a pit stop whenever you can, under full course caution, but it's not quite as simple as that in sports car racing, because we've only got half the race to go now. Yes, it's 3 hours, it sounds a long time, but these guys are working to a plan. So now we're about to do the pass arounds, and as Jeremy says, we will find out where Plowman is in the queue.
I think you are right. I don't think he is on the same lap as Scott Tucker, so he will remain a lap down.
There is the latest iteration of the GM Chevrolet Corvette racing here, and this year, those of you who are car buffs will know, Corvette is celebrating its 60th anniversary. So earlier on, we got our very own Corvette expert, Johnny O'Connell, to take a look at some of the great Corvettes of the past.
Corvette. The year's 1963, and Chevrolet is rolling out Generation 2 of their iconic car. Corvette lovers refer to this car as C2, the second generation of what is going to become one of America's finest, most iconic cars. Corvette featured a ladder frame, lower center of gravity, and full independent rear suspension. Four-wheel disc brakes were added in 1965, and a 427 big block V8 made its debut in 1966. What was going on in racing? Well, the first Z06 factory track package launched in '63, and the lighter Grand Sport race car included a 377 cubic inch aluminum V8. And everyone, of course, will remember that Dick Goldstrand and Bob Bondron drove Corvette at Le Mans in 1967, reaching speeds of 171 miles per hour. Now, C2, Generation 2 was special for me because this is the first Corvette I ever drove in my life, and it was amazing driving down the highway, the looks that I got. But as Corvette history moves forward, we go into 1968, Generation 3 C3, and once again, the folks at Chevrolet come up with something amazing.
Thank you, Johnny. More from Johnny O'Connell in this 60th anniversary year of Corvette. As the season progresses, racing next at Le Mans 24 Hour, of course. Round of the World Endurance Championship. Round of a World Championship for the first time in, what, 20 odd years? 20 years, in fact. 92, wasn't it, the last World Endurance Championship? And here, the American Le Mans Series, I think, could take great pride that we've got a World Endurance Championship now, because had it not been for Don Pino's back at the start of this championship, international sports car racing was all but forgotten. And it wasn't so very long ago that half the entries on the grid at Le Mans were ALMS competitors. Quite the same balance of performance now. But nevertheless, there was a time, what, a decade ago, when sports car racing looked at a very, very different proposition than it does now. And the ALMS, Don Pino's, and under the stewardship of current long-time CEO Scott Atherton, can take a great deal of pleasure looking at how sports car racing across the world has developed since the ALMS was the trailblazer, if you like, of ACO rules racing in other events than the Le Mans 24 Hours. So we're coming round to half distance, Jeremy. What have we... Oh, let's just scan to the right a bit, see if my car's still parked there. It's being stored. What have we learned, if anything? Clearly, the Muscle Milk car has got advantage in P1 today, and it's theirs to lose now. But really, plenty more questions to be answered, particularly in the GT, and I would say in the PC category as well. And P2 Absolutely. Is by no means over and done with. No, I think Scott Tucker has a lap lead over Martin Plowman, but I fancy Martin Plowman's going to be a little bit quicker than Scott Tucker. Maybe he can get that car back onto the lead lap, and then we're really going to have a battle at the end of toward the end of the race in P2. That's very much on the cards, I think. Let's go down to the pit lane. This full course caution was caused with the coming together of Level 5 Motorsports, Frank Montani, and the JDX Motorsport Porsche. Now let's find out what's going on in the JDX pit.
Here with Matthew Marsh from the JDX team. The car, obviously, it looks like it's not going to be coming back. How disappointed are you, and what happened out there?
Well, it's a huge disappointment for the Flexbox JDX team. You know, we had a really good car. Jeremy, Mike and the guys really worked during qualifying, with Martin in particular setting up the car. You know, we had a puncture right at the beginning of the race. After Chris took over, there was a puncture on the left front. We lost a lap there. Chris drove amazingly well since then. He's had no radio basically since halfway through his stint, so he's been driving without a spotter and without any information from the pit. Did everything you could have asked of him, did a great stop, looked in good condition, sent him out again to do his 405 minutes. And then, you know, this is what happens in this kind of racing. You know, you've got two prototypes coming up the inside, no spotter. You know, it's the kind of thing that happens. You know, I have to say, when I've raced prototypes, you can see everything when you're in the prototype behind. So it's all very well getting out the car and making a signal at the other driver who's in the GT. It's damn hard driving a GT when you're trying to go as fast as you can. If the prototype guy can see you in front of him, you know, I think there's a responsibility there. So, you know, where I feel the blame lies in this one. But bottom line, for the Flexbox JDX team, the race is over, and that's a big disappointment.
Thank you very much.
Matthew Marsh, long-time sports car Le Mans competitor, and tells it as he sees it. I have to say, I find it difficult to be contrary to anything he said there. That is the 055 being pushed back into the paddock area. Look at the size of the wing mirror there that guy's pushing. New regulations this year to have bigger rear view mirrors on prototypes. Didn't help Frank there though, did it? No,
well, what he had to do was look forward in that instance, didn't he, really?
No. He was sort of on the way by.
Right, yeah, he was going past. I think he's used to driving a Peugeot, I guess, which is light years quicker than anything else, other than the Audis.
Now that car has only dropped down to third in class, so they will make arrangements to have that car fixed if they can to get Scott Tucker some points. Have to complete 70% of the race, so expect to see that car back. Even if it's gone an hour, there's still an opportunity for Scott, and Scott is registered for points in that car, so expect to see that back. GTs, who's going to come in GTs? Shall we make a guess? I think we might see one or two.
Yeah, it's going to be a great battle. It's Corvette, Porsche, Corvette, BMW, Porsche, Wolf Hensler up in 5th place.
Yeah, where have they come from? Exactly. In the 7 Fulton Tyres car?
They've been lingering, and I think this caution has probably helped them. I think they've got a wave pass.
Leaders in. Leaders GT is in.
To pull up some ground, but yeah, here we go.
Now he's stuck behind a couple of GTC cars. He won't like that. Second, in comes Pat Long. Pat Long gets to his pit, and it's the battle of the pit crews down on pit lane for the lead in GT.
Tommy Milner will stay in that number 4 Corvette. They are giving him a fresh water bottle for the car. He's also going to get a fresh set of Michelins and fuel. Tommy's the most recent GT class winner. It was his first win with Corvette, and he said that gives him so much momentum coming into the race today. These crews, right now, they're waiting to get to work. They know other work can be done on the cars until that fueling is complete. The number 3 car, the fueling was done faster. The number 4 car is taking way too long to fuel that Corvette. I'm not sure what's going on with the fuel flow, but Lizards, number 45, they are feeding most of the Corvettes out of pit lane, and the number 4, they are still fueling while their sister car, the number 3, is already gone. This is detrimental to the race for the number 4 team.
Well, there's been fueling problems in Corvette before. They've moved the fuel intake, and I don't think they're getting fuel in there. The man on the pit man on the fuel hose was shaking his head there, and what they're waiting for, of course, is the fuel to come back up through the other side of the car over the overflow to tell them it's full. They've had vapor lock problems in these cars before. Good spot by Jamie.
It's been a while though, hasn't it, since they've had any problems?
Well, and when was the last time you saw a Corvette team of any shape or form beaten out of the pits by anybody? Right. That car came in first, will go out down, and in fairness, the Lizards, I think, would have given them a good run for their money even if they hadn't had the problem. They got the fueling done on that Porsche very quickly indeed. Makes you wonder if they got everything into that one. Well, that's a disaster then for the number 4 Chevy Corvette. Back in the days when we used to have the pit lane challenge, the pit crew challenge in the American Le Mans series, which was great fun, the Pratt and Miller teams were virtually unbeatable. I think they won 3 out of 4 years that we did that from memory, between the 4 and the 3 car. So, let's just have a look to see what's worked out where. But
we'll have to wait a little bit till the... unfortunately, we don't have a vantage point of the track here, so we can't see the relative position. We have to wait until the cars come across the start-finish line one more time. The race leader there, Lucas Oil, he wasn't in need of a pit stop. Most of the prototypes weren't, but we did see that the number 25 car, Dempsey Racing in PC Prototype Challenge, they did make the opportunity to come onto pit. Was it actually? No, it was a 52, wasn't it? I beg your pardon. For PR1 Matheson Motorsports, Ken Dobson made a quick dive onto pit lane during that caution period, and is a good job there by those guys to top it off with fuel and remain on the lead lap.
Yeah, got back on the lead lap after that. That was cleverly done. So it's Papa, Marcelli and Dobson, 0.68 and 52 in PC. In GT, when it all shakes out across the line, because Joey Hand was further up the pit lane, and we don't have sector times here to put that straight, did the BMW beat out the Porsche? Well, halfway through the race, still 2 hours and 55 minutes to go. It seems as good a time as any to take a short break from the action, which is behind the safety car at the moment, so no action to be missed. But we've still got more than a normal length American Le Mans Series race to run. Beautiful weather here, and there are your leaders. And don't forget, it's Mother's Day weekend here in the United States, and the drivers haven't forgotten either.
It's neat to be out here racing on Mother's Day weekend, and really want to thank all the mothers out there. There's a lot of guys that work on these cars behind me that all their mothers are very supportive as well.
I did do something a little special this time. It's going to make me sound like a little bit of a cheese ball, but I actually just made her a card and sent it to her, and just wrote in it and did my whole thing. And it's like, I'm not an artsy person, so for me to make something was kind of special.
We had this conversation about this last night, which has left me frantically trying to find a florist to deliver some flowers because I'd forgotten. So happy Mother's Day, Mum.
It's not just what we gave the new Corvette 427 that makes it special. It's what we didn't.
Hi, I'm Dennis Gage, and I gotta tell you about a smart charging system that keeps my entire fleet of machines on call at all times. It's called Battery Tender, and it's not just for my classic cars. Deltran battery tenders have a microprocessor that monitors everything. It never overcharges. It just takes batteries up to a full charge and keeps them there. So whether it's cars, motorcycles, mowers, or ATVs, Battery Tender keeps them all ready for action. If it's not a Deltran battery tender, it's just a pretender.
Perfect timing as we come back to green flag racing with Lucas Lohr leading away the field. There he is making good his escape again with other categories of cars behind him on the restart. And Lucas looking very cool, calm and collected. In second on the road now is Scott Tucker, and he is second place, but he's 2 laps down on the leader as he comes through into some clear air himself. In third place, the 37 of Martin Plowman is another lap further back in third.
This is a traffic jam.
Ooh. Oh, dear me. That is the second place car being nerfed out of the way by, I think that was Alex Papa, was it?
I'm not sure. Certainly Scott Tucker was pretty slow going into the corkscrew there, and the Core Autosport car dived down the inside. I want to have a look at that one again. We talked a little while about number 95 car and some...
That is Rob Dyson being told, and I'll relay this now, that he has got a 2.5 minute stop and hold penalty for improper procedures. And there's clearly a bit of disagreement going on there.
Proper procedures. Clarify that one. We talked briefly about 95 car. We heard a little while ago he was going to get a penalty for not shutting off the engine during a pit stop about half an hour ago. That penalty, we should say, was rescinded. So we didn't. I wonder why that car had not yet been onto pit lane again.
Yeah, good point. That was with Luis Diaz getting out. So that was on the pass around, and we've talked about this before. The penalties are punitive. So whether Johnny got the wrong call and went round, yeah. What did I say?
Punitive.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. It's penalty. But no, I mean your point is valid. It's a big penalty. it's the wave around rule that they have in the American laws. It is a little bit complicated, and
it's meant to mitigate the fact that we're in multi-class racing, so that nobody loses out too much. And you see, they put the tyres back there, by the way.
Yeah, they took the opportunity to join the yellow. But you're not going to do your point there is right. You try not to disadvantage anybody, but you're not going to do an improper wave around on purpose. There's no point in doing that. So to give them a 2.5 minute stop and hold, I mean, for an inadvertent mistake seems. That is, I do believe, rather draconian. Fortunately, for the Dyson racing, it's not really significant. No. There's only 2 cars in P1. They're already 3 laps behind the overall race leader, but still.
And that's Johnny Morlam, and he'll be fit to explode if he's just been told he's got to come in for a pit stop.
Should I turn the engine off? Should I turn the engine off?
Get out and have a cup of tea.
Turn the engine off in the penalty box. In the penalty box. At the end of pit lane.
Eavesdropping there. Johnny's left thumb just going onto the radio. He was about to reply to them. Well, as you say, it won't affect them, but they'll still be sore about that. And it will drop them out of 4th place overall. And in fact, because of the fact that
they're out of the top 20, actually.
Well, I was going to say, because it's so close behind them, it will drop them. Just trying to work it down. No, I think they'll stay on the first page of timing, which is 16, but only just. Now, can we just go back to GT for a moment, because we saw, didn't we? And there's been a change in GT in 2nd place as. And Antonio Garcia has gone up into 2nd ahead of Jörg Bergmeister. We saw as Johnny Morlam comes in, the number 4 Corvette having a long and laboured pit stop for fuel. The Joey Hand 56 BMW.
That's the job you done, man. It doesn't change that at all. We'll just keep rocking.
The 56 BMW of Joey Hand had just pitted before that full course caution, so they stayed out and assumed the lead from, at first, Jörg Bergmeister. But Antonio Garcia's gone through.
I didn't go until I radioed you, and I didn't go until I radioed you, Vince.
Johnny just explaining to the team
what he did. Wrong. All the way up.
So Lucas Luhr leading, and Johnny Morlam stationary in the pit lane. And that is going to really wind up Johnny. Yeah, the GTs, we had Joey Hand staying out and leading. Jörg Bergmeister was 2nd, but Antonio Garcia's gone through. So it's now BMW 56 from Corvette number 3, from Porsche number 45. They're separated by all of 3 seconds. Another half a second back is Jörg Müller in the 55. That's another BMW. Then Johannes van Overbeek. He's another half a second back in 5th position in the 01, the other Extreme Motorsports car. And then 3 seconds back from them is Brian Sellers. So the top 5 separated by now just 2.3 seconds. And the top 7 separated by 7 seconds. Brian just trying to get back on the back of that. So there is the leader, Joey Hand, who stayed out. And his pit stop just before that full course caution. And the race has come back to Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan and the BMWs, Jeremy. Now, just behind it, there is the freight train. That is looking forward from Antonio Garcia in 2nd. He's got Bergmeister right on his tailpipes in the silver and red Flying Lizard. There is the view from Jörg's car. Behind Jörg is Jörg Müller in the 55 BMW, and behind him is Johannes van Overbeek. 2nd, 3rd and 4th, brought to you by the letter J. Johannes, Jörg and Johannes. Jörg and Jörg, rather. Confusing myself there. And look at that GT battle. 16 wheels of GT action behind the leaders. And that is the top 5. Tommy Milner has just gone up into 6th place ahead of Brian Sellers.
Yeah, those two virtually side by side as they came across the start-finish line.
And there is the second BMW, and he's having a look. Jörg Müller having a look. It's Tommy Milner in the Corvette. He's just back there as well.
Johannes van Overbeek right there in the Ferrari. This is great stuff. And that mistake, that costly mistake by the number 4 car, that last round of pit stops, dropped Tommy out of the top 5.
But he's only 5 seconds back down the road. Here is...
The caution helped him.
Yes, it did. Here is the 4th place car. In front, Jörg Bergmeister. In 3rd, in front of him, is Antonio Garcia, and hand ahead of him, the top 4 are together and visible from the roof camera of the 55 BMW. Up towards the corkscrew. Oh, he just looks like the beam is a tad later on the brakes. What about the traction coming out? No, the Porsche with the engine over the back wheels gets the traction. Little dab of the brakes going through that left-handed downhill by Jörg. Now only just a little feather through there, and Jörg taps the brakes again to make sure the pads are in contact with the rotors before he comes down through 10 and into 11. Leading 4, absolutely. Oh, there's damage to the back of the lead BMW. It looks like the bumper, the rear valance, is coming off that car. Now, we haven't seen any contact on that. Now, if that doesn't fall off, he may get a mechanical and have to call in and get that taken off.
It's going to be like a parachute on the back of that car.
Well, the team will be telling him to wave around and hopefully have it fall off before he's told to pit and take it off. He drops off the right-hand side of the circuit, I think,
probably
to do
purpose.
just that. Yes, and he's done it. And he goes right over the windscreen of Antonio Garcia in 2nd place. I think he did do that on purpose.
Yeah, but it's really going to affect the handling of the car.
He's got a lot of damage there.
Yeah, he's going to be struggling now.
Look at the rear under tray as well, Jeremy. It's not just the fact that the balance has gone. These BMWs, and in fact all the GT cars, are so aerodynamically advanced now that they need those rear aerodynamic devices. Looking back now from Antonio Garcia, that is going to be a real disadvantage now to that lead BMW of Joey Hand, and we didn't see how that happened. I don't think that Garcia was close enough to cause that. So has there been side-by-side contact when he was passing a slower car?
Yeah, I don't know. We certainly haven't seen anything yet, but this battle, look at all these cars here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. The 02 car is a couple of laps off the pace, but Guy Cosmo has taken over the wheel again from Ed Brown, and so he's certainly running in this whole train of cars there. So you can see the 2 Extreme Speed Motorsports Ferraris here. They are across the line right now, and you can see the gap back to the next car. Isn't very far, is it? That's the Corvette of Tommy Milner with Brian Sellers hot on his heels as well.
Yeah, the top 5 are in position order. The second of the 2 green and black ESM Ferraris is a couple of laps down, but then look back towards the next group of cars headed by a bright yellow Corvette, and that is the next group of cars. That is 6th, 7th.
And I tell you what, I think Darren Turner has got himself back on the lead lap because he's
very nearly.
No, I think he's back on the lead lap. I think he's ahead of this string here. I think he's just a little bit farther. Yes, there he is.
Oh, you're right.
I think he might have worked his way past there. I think he's worked his way past these. I couldn't quite see, unfortunately. It's so frustrating not to be able to see the race.
You want a lap chart, don't you?
I wouldn't be able to see the race. I must admit. Anyhow, he's worked his way past. He's now back on the lead lap. So what Darren Turner needs right now is another full course caution. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
and also the same in P2. Martin Plowman has got past Scott Tucker, and he is now back on the same lap, at least as Scott Tucker is
for P2.
For P2, yes.
Correct. And that is the battle for 2nd and 3rd overall as well. So Darren Turner, as Jeremy rightly says, is just ahead of this battle and is praying for somebody to say that BMW rear bumper needs to be pulled out of the way of turn 3, and we'll have to go full course caution to do it.
Yeah.
Fantastic, 3-4-way battle at the head of the field, and that BMW of Joey Hand is still turning decent laps, you know.
That's amazing.
I'm surprised, because when you look at what's missing from there, all right, the rear bumper and valance probably not doing there. There is the piece of very light plastic, carbon fibre infused fiberglass it will be. When you look at it, no, absolutely, I want to run over it certainly. And here is Johnny Molan working his way through this bit. He's just been released, and in fact that's a race leader coming through as well on the left hand side as we were looking up the hill.
Look how busy that is.
It looks like 101 on a Monday morning, doesn't it?
Yeah, add a few. Yikes.
Now,
so the number 2 car they're going past there, Rusty Mitchell at the wheel, and
well, he's driven off the track to get out of the way.
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
He's still getting up to speed in that car. Doesn't have a lot of miles in it, but hats off to Ian Dawson and that Libra Racing guys. They got themselves now into a podium position in P2, and my hats off to them. I love the fact they've got so much enthusiasm there. They've got this brand new engine there which are put into this car. The car's not in the flushest of youth, so to speak.
No, they've had that. They have got a spare chassis though.
Yeah, and they still think there's nothing wrong with that radical chassis. They just need to get the engine sorted out and get some more development under its belt and see where they can go with it.
Let's check back in with the GTC, the GT Challenge class, if you will. And this is McNeil and Wagner.
Yeah, and right behind them also.
Oh, it's top 3 in fact, yeah.
Jerome Blake is closing in very quickly on these two. He's got that car. He's brought it from a lap down earlier on. He handed it back to Brett Curtis for the last hit. Jerome Blake is back at the wheel of that car now. Kevin Buckler calling the shots at TRG, and he's called the shots very, very nicely here. He's got Jerome back at the wheel of that car. He's got it right back into contention now. And you can see the 66 car closing rapidly on that number 24 and the number 22.
That is very impressive that they've managed to get that back in, and a great race thus far for the AJR WeatherTech team.
And it's the young American Cooper McNeil leading the GT Challenge class in that 22 Alex Job racing car. His teammate this weekend, Anthony Lazzaro, they've known each other for about a year, met each other in the Ferrari Challenge Series, and they said it's really more like a student-mentor relationship. Anthony jokes continually that he could be Cooper McNeil's father. In fact, he has kids that are older than Cooper. But this is how Cooper is celebrating the end of his freshman term at the University of Colorado Boulder. He's a business student there. He just wrapped up finals on Wednesday. He said they went well, but he was happy to be able to get back and focus on just racing now.
He's got some pressure behind him now. There's young Cooper McNeil. And Peter Lasafra is still on the lead lap in that pole-sitting GTC car. And with due respect to the other two drivers and himself, he is the gentleman among that driving team. Therefore, they will be putting faster drivers in towards the end. This is, we said it would concertina back up again. I have to say, with 2.5 hours to go, that's probably 2 hours earlier than I thought it might. But this GT category, you just can't put it out, can you? Oh, dive down the inside there by by Jerome Bleekemolen, we should say.
Yeah, not Sebastian, his brother, driving different cars. So yeah. A little bit of confusion there potentially.
It's been quite a while since Cooper McNeil's been along pit lane. So this may well be broken up by pit stop shortly. 81 was the last pit for McNeil. I mean, we heard earlier on, didn't we, that it's a 105-minute stint in a GTC car. 105 minutes. That's amazing. Around here, the amount of concentration that you need to have. And this young man is really showing great promise for the future. Again, the GTC category, allowing drivers to experience the multiple classes of true sports car racing. Get used to passing and being passed by much faster cars, and that is, there's a skill there, you know. We've talked about this before, but allowing yourself to be passed by the prototypes, and just as we say that, the two cars behind the second placed machine in GTC of Kurt Wagner get tripped up over themselves and end up taking to the dirt for a moment. And that was, I think Ken Dobson was one of those cars, the Quest sponsored machine.
Yes, some slightly different colours on that car this weekend. Yes. As you say, Quest Software, the primary sponsor for a few races in the middle of the season. There's Cooper McNeil, and he's doing a nice job, isn't he? He's staying ahead there, not only ahead of Kurt Wagner, but Jerome Blakemole, he closed right in there, but he hasn't been able to make a serious challenge yet. He's
had a little nibble down the inside a couple of laps ago into the Andretti hairpins, but he's dropped back away since then.
It was number 5 car of Archie Hamilton, who's moving through there in 5th place in PC right now. Bruno Junqueira in the red car we saw a couple of laps ago, moving past this little battle as well. Bruno Junqueira is running 4th in PC and running some very, very quick laps. I think he's just turned the fastest lap of the race in that class, I believe, a 1:19.5. But he is still a lap down to the other 3 cars ahead of him. So it's in PC, it's the 06 car. Alex Popo leads from Karl Marcelli. Those two actually virtually nose to tail right now, it looks from the scoring. So numbers 06 and the 8 car very, very much tied together. Ken Dobson a little way back in 3rd place, and then Bruno Junqueira 1 lap down to those 2 in 4th place in PC.
21.3 for Lucas Lohr last time around. He's eased his pace a little bit, and that GTC battle is fantastic. And in fact, in the GT battle, Van Overbeek's just done his fastest lap in fact, his fastest lap, 24.1, and Milner behind him at 23.8. That's his fastest lap as well. So that battle in GT is just behind these guys. They're going to come through these 3 fairly shortly. And that's going to be interesting because we've got 3 GTCs battling. We've got the PC cars coming through them as well. There's the leader coming through them. And in a moment, Hand, Garcia, Bergmeister, Muller, Van Overbeek, Milner, Sellers are all coming through that battle like a freight train.
Yeah, Sellers, I think, he's made a pit stop just a little while ago. So, if I'm not mistaken, maybe I am mistaken.
He's only 30 seconds.
My scoring showed him as having made the pit stop a little while ago, but I think I fancy that.
Oh, and there's a bit of contact that was not required again at the top of the corkscrew, and that's the leader. That's the leader.
Costly for Cooper McNeil.
Oh, he's going to be so annoyed about that. Well, that's cost him first and
second.
Yeah. So he's dropped down to 3rd. That is awful for them. So Cooper McNeil, I'm not sure he was doing very much wrong here. Let's have a look. He's on his line. Well, I think he's given him room there. I didn't really close down on him.
No, it's a little bit of a confusion between those 2 drivers there. It was the 05 car, I think it was John Bennett, and it was that 6th place car for Core Autosport, who was looking to the inside, and he wasn't really. John Bennett really wasn't decisive enough.
That's very good.
Nor was really Cooper McNeil. He wasn't really decisive enough either. Perhaps he was, thinking that the PC car was going to dive down the inside. It didn't, so he took his line, and then the contact was made. So, was that one of just a racing incident? We'll have to see how the stewards call that one. Again, you could kind of call that one either way. I think if there's a penalty, you wouldn't be surprised.
Yes, it's true. You've got to say, though, the guy who's making the overtake...
Absolutely.
It's
up to the overtaking driver to make the move cleanly. Absolutely.
There's a point where you've got to say, what does he expect? What does he expect to happen with that Porsche?
Yeah.
Because Scotty is not there to beam him up.
Yep.
He's not just going to disappear. Cooper McNeil getting a bit heavy on the right pedal there.
Yeah, and the 05 car never got even vaguely alongside Cooper McNeil's 22 car here. So you have to pin the blame fairly squarely, I'm afraid, on John Bennett in that instance.
The guy's leading. The guy's leading his class, and he's not going to just stop in the middle of the road and let him go through. Oh, now has he got a slow puncture?
No,
that car's moving around a lot.
The good news is it is a relatively slow corner up there, and the contact, it wasn't heavy contact, it was just enough, as we saw earlier on with the BMW, just enough to tip it into a spin. So one has to hope there's no other lasting damage to this WeatherTech car.
I did notice that he came straight back onto the track. He didn't try to shortcut the bottom end, and that has saved his splitter at the front. No doubt about that at all. Now, whether that was deliberate or he just felt he needed to get back on the track, the end result is he's done a real go. Now, I said, coming up shortly will be the freight train that's going to go through this 3-car battle. And here it comes. Pull on the whistle because we're coming through. Casey Jones steaming through. In this case, The Cannonball Express at the front of this race team is Joey Hand in the 56 BMW. And I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah, I agree, because he's certainly got a lost and downforce from the back of that car.
Absolutely.
And he's really hustling. Look at how much he was hustling that car at the exit of the corkscrew there. So it's BMW, Corvette, Porsche, BMW, Ferrari. Pretty much nose to tail the top 5 cars in GT. We're on board with the second place of those cars. Antonio Garcia at the wheel.
Yeah, less than 3 seconds between those 5 that Jeremy just mentioned as they went across the line last time. And there's not that much of a gap to look back to Tommy Milner. He's another 2 seconds further back in 6th position.
I'm sure of a glance of him there, didn't he, coming out of turn 11.
Now, the 56 has been involved in a couple of incidents today. He lost the bumper relatively recently. Let's have another look. Ah, you see, side-to-side contact is what I said. Oh, that was Corvette. That was Corvette. That was Garcia. Now, this was earlier on up at the top of the corkscrew. Now, that is both in exactly the same spot, and that's clearly weakened the left-hand rear bumper mount. And I've got to say, Garcia, on that evidence, might just be sweating a little bit.
It was a little while ago, so we haven't heard any call from race control.
Yeah, but they may not have seen that replay that we've just
Joey
seen.
had to move wide there, didn't he, to give room to the other car, and the Corvette took the opportunity to dive down the inside. A bit of an opportunist move. Not really a place you're going to, certainly Joey Hand isn't going to give up the lead. Just say thank you, go on past.
You were asking the Falcon car, you said they might have had a pit stop. They didn't actually, but Tom Looms, at Tom Looms, has let us know they had a stop and go penalty for passing under yellows during the pass arounds. So that's why he dropped 30 seconds off the back of it.
So they were in the pits?
Yes, but not for a pit stop, for just a drive-through.
Got it. Thank you.
And thanks to Tom Looms, at Tom Looms, at Specutainment and at Jeremy Shaw Racer, here in the booth for the last 2.5 hours or thereabouts of round 3 of the American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron.
Car's been running very nicely. That's number 17 car, the Falcon Tyres car. They weren't sure how competitive they're going to be this weekend. But again, we talked about earlier on the new splitter on the front end of the Porsche this weekend, new rear wing as well, a little bit larger air inlet as well to give the engine a little bit more power, but also a little bit more weight they're carrying around as well. So the swings and roundabouts of kind of performance balancing, if you like, to try and get all these different cars to be running at the same sort of level of performance. And I have to say, from the evidence of what we've been watching all afternoon here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, I think the officials have got this just about right. There seems to be nothing to choose between any of these GT cars. Tremendous fun.
There is Bergmeister crossing the line to complete lap number 138 for him. That is the lead lap for GTs. And again, the top 6 still within 4.5 seconds. There it is. Milner right on the back of that now. Looking further back, the 44 of Marco Holzer and Guy Cosmo are the next 2 cars back, and they're battling for 9th and 10th in the category. And they are almost together as Bergmeister makes a slight error, drops the left rear Michelin onto the dirt. There's a lot of very battle-scarred cars out there today.
Yeah.
And we've got 2.5 hours still to go. You've got to love this GT battling, haven't you? I have said this before. What do we need to do to GT racing? Absolutely nothing at all. To say I'm a tad concerned about the thought of a Dodge Viper coming in with an 8-litre engine amongst this lot. I'm sure it'll be worked out. So at the head of the field, let's just remind you that Lucas Lowe leads overall and in P1. Scott Tucker is trying to hold on to the back of Martin Plowman and doing a pretty good job Plowman's just got past him and onto the lead lap, but those are 95 Scott took the second, and leading P2 with Martin Plowman in second place in P2. But Martin's just pulled away a wee bit and is trying to get around. He needs a bit better, a bit of a break.
We talked about the Aston Martin getting back onto the lead lap in GT. Well, that's made a pit stop about a handful of laps ago as well, so that will have put it back to be 1 lap down. So they were praying for a caution. They did not make a pit stop during that previous full course caution, hoping it would be another caution shortly thereafter that would allow them to get back into contention here. But the time ran out for them. They've come in now and made their, I think that's their 4th stop. Darren Turner is still at the wheel, and but he is a lap down.
They've gone back past him now, right? Okay. Well, we saw the IMSA lights earlier on. They're not the only support series here. We've also had those great Porsches, the Yokohama GT Challenge. The most powerful and prestigious single-make series in the world, the GT3 Porsches, always a fan favourite and plenty of action with Bryce Miller from pole getting away, but on the first lap, spinning that lead into the dirt. That left Sean Johnson to go by the number 62 of Madison Snow for the lead in the Platinum class. Behind them, Melanie Snow in the 56 went past Fred Poudard's 72 for second in the Gold class. At the checkered flag, Sean Johnson wins Platinum class and Angel Benitez takes the Gold class. Plenty of celebrations down along pit lane. And here's the results of the second race today. And it's another double for the Snows, and we'll be back with more from Laguna Seca next.
When it comes to fun family getaways, it's got to be Holiday Inn Club Vacations. Room to be yourself.
Usually when a car maker turns one of its models into a race car, they have to add power. But when Chevrolet wanted to race the 638 horsepower Corvette ZR1 against Porsche, Ferrari, and BMW, we were asked to dial it back. Oh, about 168 horsepower. You know, just to be fair.
Hey man, you're supposed to work up a sweat doing the work, not starting your equipment. A friend of mine who's a fireman told me this is what they use when they need stuff to start. This SCF has no ethanol in it, so it can sit in there for months and start up easy every time. Plus, it's pre-mixed with oil, so you can pitch this stuff. Try SCF, the perfect fuels for gas-powered tools.
The drive that fuels the WeatherTech racing team is the same that drives us to make the highest quality automotive accessories. WeatherTech, driven to perform.
All the excitement of the American Le Mans Series is back.
Great flag and we're racing at Baltimore!
Where technology races into the future and no man is better than his machine. Failure is always a threat when pushing development to its very edge. But survival makes success that much sweeter. This is where technology, passion, and danger meet to create a spectacular orchestra. The American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron, where the technology of speed and danger is everything.
Well, we can't complain about the weather, and we can't complain about the racing. Once again, Master Raceway Laguna Seca providing both in spades, good racing and good weather. Now, I said to you we'd update you on the Michelin Green X Challenge earlier on. We're looking for clean, fast and efficient race cars, and don't forget it's the lowest total that puts you out in front, which is where Muscle Milk Pickett Racing are at the moment in the prototype categories, although the two level 5 cars are sitting closely behind, and even closer in the GT, just as it is on the track, but being judged in a slightly different way, and it's the 56 car of BMW Team RLL that hold a slender lead from Corvette, and in third place it's the third different manufacturer, Ferrari. So proving that everybody is taking this seriously. It's very tight at the top of those standings, just as it is in the GT battle as well. Now, I'm delighted to say that we've been joined by the man at the top of the American Le Mans Series and IMSA. He is, of course, Scott Atherton, who once again... Can I offer you a seat, first of all, sir? Please.
No.
I feel I must.
I've been sitting all day. I'll prefer to stand this time.
Okay. Once again, I hope you're going to give the first of all the weather people whatever requisition you put in for the weather, as we're watching great GT battling with the leader coming through, and also the script writer, because even still with 2.5 hours or just under to go, they've done their jobs excellently well again.
Yeah, on the pre-race, I gave credit to the weather to the good Lord and Richard Anderson, who's our direct link there. So we'll keep that credit where credit's due. And yeah, the script writers have come through for us again.
Oh, now the 37 car in the pit lane. This is one of the leading lights. Martin Plowman, second place, has just got back onto the lead lap in the P2 category, and that looks like he may have just overrun his pit stop, and that's caused a little bit of consternation. And what they've decided to do is do the tyres first, because of the fact they couldn't get the fuel, I think, is what they're doing.
And Antonio Pizzonia taking the wheel of that car. The first time he ever drove a prototype was on Thursday. The first time he ever saw this racetrack or drove this car was on Thursday as well. And on Saturday morning in practice, he was P1, or he's P1 in P2, fastest of all in the P2 category. So he really took to these cars like a duck to water. Massive amount of experience. He's won in just about everything, and he's loving his experience here in the prototype cars.
Now that is the 055 car going back out, and that is very significant, Jeremy. Remember, this is the car that Scott Tucker, the man behind Level 5 Motorsport, is registered for points in. And that car, after that accident with Frank Montani earlier on when he clipped the JDX Porsche, they've taken that car back, they've found the parts to repair it, and off right in front of him has gone Antonio Pizzonia as he was leaving the pit. Again, that's the... We highlighted that earlier on with the onboard, and now we've seen a couple of people do it, and Pizzonia was very lucky there not to pick someone else up as he came out of the pit lane. Just a little bit over exuberant.
Very much so there, yeah, and he might even get pinged for taking the wrong line out of the pit lane. So,
well, he was over all four wheels over the white line. He didn't blend, did he?
No.
He just charged. Excuse me, coming through. That wasn't a bend, that was a shoulder charge, as we would have. Scott Atherton's watching this and loving it. Do you get to see much of the racing on a weekend like this, Scott?
Not nearly enough. And you know, when I come in to spend some time with you guys, I'm always a little nervous because I'm afraid I'm going to get a question about something that happened before, and I will have missed it.
Yeah,
but I can't take
by the way, I need to ask you a question about that.
Yeah, but I've been watching this GT battle, which is just over the top. It's outstanding.
We had a number of people asking the question, what's going to happen when the Viper comes in? Because clearly the Viper, it has a much bigger engine than we're used to seeing in the GT category at the moment, but the ACO and IMSA have been used to dealing with this in the past, as we've got more action out on the circuit with that's the 18 car right in the middle of that again, and that car has been like a magnet today, and that's all down to the GT cars battling so hard between themselves. They're not seeing the prototypes coming. But the Viper, much bigger engine than any of the cars that we're seeing here. Are you confident that Scott Elkins and the guys can make the adjustments to make the racing still as what we're seeing here?
The short answer to your question is absolutely. The one thing that for the fans that really follow our sport, you know, the term homologation, which means the approval of the car from its production version to its racing version, all those processes are handled by the ACO. So what they decide is an acceptable racing configuration is what we accept. So IMSA and the American Le Mans Series don't homologate cars. That's handled by the ACO. And then it comes down to how we manage them once they're racing with us. And Scott Elkins and his team, I think, have done a masterful job, as evidenced by what we have here. All the different brands of cars, of tires, of different fuels, and right now one rope could tie them all together.
Right, so we'll just take a little bit of action here, because the leads just changed, or the positions have just changed right in that GT category. The 55 BMW, we're on board here, and I think he got a bit of help coming down into the Andretti hairpin. There goes the prototype. That's fine. Now that's fine as well. Oh, the Corvette says hello, I'm here as well. So that was a nice bit of opportunist overtaking by Johannes van Overbeek. And yes, I think that number 4, remember this is Tommy Milner, who had a bit of a long pit stop earlier on. That's going to be looked at as well.
I don't see the problem.
You think that's okay?
Yeah, I do.
That's Rubens racing?
Yeah, I think he was, I mean, the 55 car was pushed out wide. Tommy Milner placed his car in there, and I think the 55 trying to tighten up his line to try and keep the number 4 car behind. That's
he was too late. And he was too late.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Because he was right alongside there, and put the 55 car. You've got to feel sorry for him because he was bundled out there. But I don't think it was really the Corvette that bundled him out there. So maybe I'd need to look at it again. But I think he was just a little bit unlucky.
So Scott Atherton's with us watching this great racing. I just want to pick on one thing he said. The ACO homologate the cars. So this is the Viper, and I think this is quite important for people who are listening, because I think there's been some confusion about this. This is not a North American IMSA American Le Mans Series homologation. This is an ACO homologation with the guys at SRT and Viper.
That's correct.
Yeah, I think that's really important, because I don't think people have grasped that.
Yeah, and my understanding, don't want to make any announcements here that aren't valid, but I believe that SRT Viper has the ultimate goal of going back to Le Mans. So they're not going to build a platform that doesn't give them that opportunity.
Okay, that's fine. Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca keeps turning up great racing, keeps turning out great weather. It's been a staple part of the American Le Mans Series. We're 3 races in. We're going to take a short break for Le Mans and come back nice and strong at another great natural terrain road circuit at Connecticut at Lime Rock Park in July. How do you see the first part of this season, and how do you think it's gone, Scott?
Boy, name the category. It's at or above our highest expectations, you know, from car counts to the diversity of who's been running up front and winning, to the introduction and announcements of new content coming, new teams, new drivers, new manufacturers. We are off to a tremendous start, and you know, we came off a strong season last year, and I think we've gone from strength to stronger.
And it doesn't hurt to have Hollywood superstars like Patrick Dempsey wanting to come and race with the American Le Mans Series.
I wasn't going to name names, but yeah, it's been fun this weekend to welcome Patrick and Joe Foster back in. They're great competitors. They've wanted to be here from the start. And I made the comment this morning in a staff meeting that last night the 11 o'clock news had a feature on the American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patron here at Mazda Raceway, and it was featuring Patrick. This morning I woke up at 6, turned the TV on, different station, different report, same content.
Yeah.
So he does generate news.
Jeremy?
And good to see the growth in P2 as well. I mean, these are relatively affordable, serious prototype cars.
Yes, sir.
And we've got 2 new cars here in P2 this weekend: a Project Libra car and Dempsey Racing, and again different chassis engine combinations. That's what we want to see, isn't it?
Absolutely, and you know, we need Tim Pappas and Black Swan to rejoin us, which I believe will happen when we come back together at Lime Rock. And you know, when you think where we were this time last year in the P2 category to where we are now, and the good news is more coming. You know, it's
so many people, Scott, have been saying to us, and we've seen the growth in P2 was written off 12 months ago. It's not going to work, and it's exploded in Europe, and it's beginning to catch on over here. It is an affordable category on proper race cars that can run at the front of quality fields. Speaking of that, and speaking of big fields, Sebring, massive field this year. All kinds of reports at the moment about what might happen with Sebring next year. Gerard Neveu and yourself have been talking. Gerard's the man at the head of the World Endurance Championship. Anything you can, I don't expect you to give any secrets, but there have been some reports. So what can you tell us about what's being talked about?
First of all, the actual execution of the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, I don't think it could have gone better. So logistically, from the official standpoint, race administration, etc., all was very much handled professionally and smoothly.
Was outstanding.
The race itself, from a fan's perspective, was wonderful. And we're looking at all of the measures right now. You know, we being in the situation of also owning the track and being the promoter there, we have that interest at heart, as well as how it impacts the American Le Mans Series. To be more direct in answering your question, we have a meeting coming up between ourselves and the ACO. We found a long time ago that that's the way we get things handled properly. Face-to-face, you know, email's wonderful, phone calls are better. There's no substitute for being across the table with each other. So that's how we're going to sort things out. And right now, I would just say stay tuned.
Can I ask you a direct question about that the fans are asking? And if you don't want to answer it, it's fine, but I feel we need to ask it. Is there a chance that the ALMS might not be at the Mobil 1 12 hours of Sebring and the WEC would be the lead race? Is that an option, seriously, that you would look at?
Not that we would consider, no. I think there have been people that have suggested that, but, you know, selfishly and bluntly, that's our Super Bowl. And, you know, Don Panos has built the American Le Mans Series from scratch. Sebring preceded all of that by decades, but in modern times, it has been the American Le Mans Series that has given Sebring its modern history, and we have no plan to change that.
Looking forward for the rest of this season. Lime Rock coming up after Le Mans, and a number of the American teams going again to Le Mans this year. What's the situation at the moment with Baltimore? Because it sounds like there's better news there. Oh,
Finally, some really solid good news. We've been directly involved with every aspect of that. It has been on life support more than once.
Such a great event, though, Scott.
Oh, it was spectacular last year.
Has there ever been a better first-year event?
I don't think so. And you know, every aspect of that event last year was so impressive. And this is a unique set of circumstances because from the beginning there was high expectations with a new promoter group and a new operating group that was in there. Long story short, that didn't work out. And now there is yet another new group that is being organized by Michael Andretti and John Lopes and their team, Andretti Sports Marketing.
People might have heard of them, I think.
They bring some very impressive credentials. They have aligned with a local group of investors, JP Grant, who is very prominent in the city. Long story short, we are in much better hands right now than we have ever been in Baltimore. And everybody can make their plans to be there Labor Day weekend because it's 100% go.
And if you haven't been there before, get your tickets now because there won't be any left.
It sold out last year.
Oh, it sold out in 30 seconds flat, it seemed to me, and we couldn't have gotten any more people in there unless we'd had a shoehorn and some liquid soap. It was a great event. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and that's great news for everybody who's sports car and indeed motorsport fans because the joint weekends I thoroughly enjoyed. Looking forward to the end of the season as well, Scott. Obviously go back to the home of the American Le Mans Series. That's at Road Atlanta for Petit Le Mans. How's plans going for that at Road Atlanta?
Full speed ahead. We set all kinds of records there last year. We are expecting to simply build on top of that. Jeff Lee and his folks, I just spoke to them earlier today. They actually have their Formula Drift event going on simultaneously. So we've got a horse in every camp right now this weekend. And, you know, they are as good a team as there is to pull off another world-class event with Petit Le Mans coming up in October. So make your plans to be there as well.
It's an unmissable one. And before we let you go, I don't know how many people outside of where we are at the moment realise what a situation this racetrack is, particularly with how it's run with the volunteers, with Scramp. And this is something that this racetrack couldn't exist without that organisation.
You're exactly right, John. And this facility will always have a special place in my heart. I had the opportunity for 5 years to be the general manager here, and the Scramp organization, which goes back truly to day one, you know, 57 some odd years now. It's an amazing set of circumstances with the facility being a county park, Scramp being a 25-member volunteer board of directors, and then a small paid staff that actually make it happen here, Jill Campbell and her team. So it's a unique set of circumstances, but as evidenced by what's happening on the television screen right now, it works.
Well, thanks to Jill and her staff, but also let's not forget to the American Le Mans Series and IMSA as well for putting in so much hard work to make this happen. Scott Atherton, thanks for taking some time out of your very busy schedule. We know that you sneak out to watch the racing when you come and see.
You're exactly right. Don't blow my cover. This is all serious work. I have to be here.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll see Scott again, I'm sure, at Le Mans and also at Lime Rock Park, which is first week of July. And that is another one that I'm really looking forward to. And good to have Scott with us, and I always enjoy talking to Scott. He knows we're going to ask the direct questions, and there are some people in his position who wouldn't give those answers.
Yeah.
So fair play to him, and hopefully those of you listening around the world and here in the US, we've put some minds to rest in terms of what's happening in the future and how the future of the series is being handled. Now let's get back to some racing with just over 2 hours.
Boy, have we got this race here in GT.
I expected any second while we were talking to Scott there to have just bits of car everywhere.
Yeah, and I was about to interrupt you every sort of 15 seconds there, because look, that car there, the green and black car, Johannes van Overbeek in car number 01. He's got himself up now into 3rd place in GT. He passed the 45 car Jörg Bergmeister a few laps ago. I think he passed Tom Milner before that, but he is charging as Johannes van Overbeek, and he's right now, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars. Again, nose to tail in GT. This is tremendous racing here. And Joey Hand, there he is doing a fabulous job. I have to say, I thought that car was going to be affected quite a bit more than it is. They're not turning anything like as fast a laps as they were earlier on. In fact,
fast enough.
Joey is holding him up a little bit, but you know, they're not able to get close enough to him to make that pass.
Yeah, that's probably a development part that cost $50,000 to make. It's lying in the middle of the track at turn 3. I say aerodynamics. He's just fantastic stuff. In 3rd place, Johannes van Overbeek in the 01 Ferrari. Good run for them.
This is the second big ride of the week for Johannes van Overbeek. He, along with his teammate in the 02 Extreme Speed car, Guy Cosmo, actually rode their pedal bikes from San Jose to get to the track here. It was just over 90 miles, and there were more than 4,000 feet of elevation change throughout it. He said it was beautiful. They got right along the coast. They went through the redwood forest. It was a 6-hour and all ride for these group of guys. Johannes has been doing it for years. He started doing it with his dad, and some of the other guys around here in the paddock have slowly added on. So it was a group ride from San Jose to the track here in Monterey.
Yeah, so disappointed I missed that. I would have loved that. That would have been great. 2 laps for the 56 car before we expect to see them on pit lane to start another round of the GT pit stops. As Jeremy mentioned earlier on, they tend to be the first ones in for green flag pit stops. We've got just over 2 hours still remaining of round 3 of the American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, and we can't take our eyes off Grand Touring, because that is the battle, first to fifth?
First to fifth, but the other 2 cars, there's 7 cars in this train, and the other 2 at the tail end of this pack, they are also having a battle for position themselves, 9th and 10th, with Guy Cosmo in the 02 Ferrari just ahead of Marco Holzer.
Green Hornet Racing have problems. Sebastian Blegemolen's got a left rear tyre going down, and there's damage. There is damage on that left rear. He's had contact with something. Meantime, as he struggles into the pits, here comes that freight train again, and it's still the BMW that's out in front. Meantime, our leader is in. Looks like a full service, tyres and a driver change.
Klaus Graf climbing behind the wheel of that Muscle Milk prototype. His co-driver Lucas Lohr helping him get the belt in. It's time to get to work for Klaus Graf. He did the opening sit in this car. He said he's been talking to Lucas on the radio, and everything is still performing perfectly with this car. Klaus, though, Monday through Friday, he works for Muscle Milk. He's the international distribution manager for all of the international distribution of the Muscle Milk products. So he's busy when he gets back home. He's busy here when he's at the racetrack. Right now, though, he has the full support of his team. And they are so far ahead in the lead. This is going to be huge for them in the points chase. They came into this race second place behind Dyson Racing.
And that was a great looking stop there by Muscle Milk Racing. I mean, absolutely flawless, very fast lead. It's almost a shame that there's no real battle going on at the front of the field, but you have to take your hat off to Greg Pickett's organisation. That was a perfectly orchestrated pit stop.
He's just being held up a little bit as he comes out the pits.
Unlike at Long Beach. And by the way, just hark back to that. Greg Pickett, he's wearing a T-shirt today. It says Nige, turn the handle on. And what happened was that the pit stop, here's the race leader now in GT making a pit stop, but the dead man handle that opens up the fuel flow from the behind the wall fuel tank into the race car wasn't opened up like it should be.
So this, slides in the pit stop, but he's in at an angle so he can get out quickly.
The California boy, Joey Hand, climbs out of the 56 BMW, and it's the German Dirk Mueller who will take over the driving duties for the remaining couple of hours here at Monterey. Joey Hand started in go-kart racing like so many drivers, and when he wanted to get his first race car, he had to elicit help from his family and friends. He built the car himself, worked on it himself, and now he's risen to the top rank of sports car racing, both here in the American Le Mans Series and over in Europe as part of the German Touring Car Series, DTM. Joey, just a great American when he's not out here at the racetrack. He's at home with his wife, Natalie, who he's been with for 17 years, and his kids, Jamie.
Number 27 of Dempsey Racing is stopped on pit lane. Patrick Dempsey's still behind the wheel of the car. This is a test for this team. This is the first week that they've had ownership of the car, and right now they're still running through the paces. Dempsey's on the radio with the team saying there is no throttle, so they are losing time in pit lane, but they weren't expecting to come out and win the race today. They're still trying to learn this car, get it all sorted out so that they can run a full season next year. Hear the car fired up, so they have got this figured out. Patrick Dempsey will get back out.
Just looking at that right front of the Dempsey Racing Lola, still carrying some of the battle scars from early on. I think this looks like a Control-Alt-Delete moment.
Now restarting.
This car is back up into third place in P2 because the number 2 car, it also had a lengthy pit stop a little while ago. I think it actually might have a bigger problem than that. I think it's still in the pits.
So we are under 2 hours to run, Jeremy. And starting to get down now. I know it sounds odd saying this, but starting to get down now to people looking at an end game.
Yeah.
Certainly the GT cars, they'll be looking probably to make only maybe one more pit stop from here. That BMW came in with 2 hours to go. How far can it go on a stint? 1 and a splash, 1.5, maybe. When we talk about stints, by the way, what we're talking about is how far the car can go on a full tank of fuel. Normally you run the car until it can't run anymore. There's no point in bringing it in if it's still got fuel in it. You're just wasting time in the pit lane. Time in the pit lane is time that you're not at full speed on the track. So it makes sense to go as long as the car can fuel mileage wise. That then becomes a single run or a stint. And so when you hear us talking about doubles and treble stints at Le Mans, that's what all that means. Those of you who know that, we're just aware that we have some new followers this weekend, getting a lot of... Oh, and there's the JDX car back out, Jeremy. Now that is something I did not expect to see. It's looking very second-hand. Nice pickup, guys. And the 11 car is back out on the circuit after that huge incident early on with Frank Montani. It's missing 1 or 2 bits of bodywork, and I'm not sure if it will be allowed to run around like that, but it's got no hood on it at the moment, no bonnet, no front valance. I don't think that's a problem.
No, we've seen plenty of cars. The Corvette was running around without a hood, wasn't it?
Good point.
A couple of weeks ago.
No, and it's not as if there's anything under there for a Porsche. It's, you know, suspension and cooling area. So maybe that's okay.
Yeah, I don't think they've got the suitcases in there, have they?
Not anymore.
Pit stops though amongst the PC cars at the moment. We've seen the leader in PC, Alex Popov, made a pit stop just a little while ago. And now it's the 52 car, Ken Dobson, is onto pit lane.
Yeah, Ken comes in from the lead of that class. And that's been a relatively decent run. Now we're talking to Scott Atherton about some Hollywood superstars. Here is one, Patrick Dempsey.
Patrick Dempsey just finished your first race stint behind the wheel of a prototype. How was it?
Oh, it's fantastic. Certainly getting used to the traffic, you know, how to spin, just really learning how to get by the traffic, getting up in the corkscrew, car got light, spun it, learned where reverse was, so I take that away from that moment, won't do that again, hopefully. And then just really started to get a rhythm, try to stay consistent, and then just really use momentum to catch the slower traffic, and it was good. I learned a lot, and it's such a great series. It's so much fun to be out there in that car. Got to thank Trina Solar, GMC Drinks, and Motegi Wheels. It's great to be here at Mazda Raceway, and the team's just done a great job. I mean, we've been thrashing for 2 weeks to get this car here. So to debut it like this, we got a long way to go, but it's been great.
You yourself, you take your racing very seriously. You started in the schools, you worked your way through the GT ranks, now in prototypes. How do you compare racing a GT car to the prototypes?
The prototype is the modulation of the brakes, getting used to the downforce is a big thing. Allowing the car to roll through the corner. A GT car, you're always hustling it through with the throttle modulation. So it's a big difference. You're fighting the car constantly. This is the LMP2 car is a little less physical, although the Gs are sort of take a toll after a while. But I love all racing, and to be in this series and doing so well, I think Joe has really developed the team and myself correctly, and it's nice to finally be here, and hopefully we can stay competitive. And happy Mother's Day.
We're looking forward to watching the program grow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Third place for the guys in Dempsey Racing. I think they'd have taken that at the early part of the week. Now he's going to go back and find that Johnny Cocker's nicked all the hair gel before he got into the car. That's going to be a blow. On board with second place car. And look at this battle.
Yeah, and right behind them.
Apart.
Yeah, they are a lap apart. So Antonio Pizzoni, though, he's closed down about 20 seconds.
Yeah, this is interesting.
The pit stop, and he's now trying to get his lap back on Scott Tucker. So Antonio Pizzoni, though, he's the chaser, but he's still got a whole lap to go before he can get back onto real terms with that number 95 car. But Antonio Pizzoni, for a little experience he has, he's never been here before, never driven a prototype before, hadn't met even any of the team guys. Well, he met some of them, before, I guess, before, but this is a really good sports car debut by Antonio Pizzoni, and he wants to do a lot more of it in the future.
Oh, he's got down the inside of turn 3.
No, he's clearly alongside
now
there.
That time, I'm going to say that was the GT driver deciding he didn't want to give up the corner, and that GT driver, that was Dirk Muller, wasn't it?
Here we go.
This is the number 4. This is Tommy Milner in the pit lane.
Tommy Milner has got out of the car. Oliver Gavin now getting strapped in. This team, they were trying to claw their way back through the field from the catastrophe that they had in the previous pit stop. They did go back and look at what happened with the fuel hose. The fuel hose was not plugged in all the way. The fueler thought that it was, but it was not. They knew that the car did eventually get fueled, but now they are hard at work trying to get those valuable positions back, and they're having trouble getting the rear tire on the hubcap fluid. Oh, this is taking way too long to see running through their paces, but not a good dress rehearsal for Le Mans.
Well, they say bad dress, good on the night, and that's what these guys will be hoping. That was looked like a cross-threaded lug nut. Now, have they got that on properly? As he goes back out, they had to use a second centre lock. Yep, looks to be okay. By the way, Junqueira, you mentioned him. Don't forget, Junqueira drove straight off when he came out the pits. If you remember. Sorry.
Fellow Brazilian.
Yeah, sorry, wrong Brazilian.
Talking about Bruno Junqueira, he has been flying for RSR. He's got that car right back into contention. He's back on the lead lap now, and only, I think, about 25 seconds behind, maybe a bit more than that, behind the lead in PC.
Antonio Garcia now out of the number 3 Corvette as it's come to pit road. Ian Magnussen now getting behind the wheel of the car. This crew getting all of the fuel in at the moment. No other work can be done to the car until the fueling is complete. Just like clockwork, it's done. The car's already up on the jacks. This team, as I said with the 4 car, they're using this as a dress rehearsal for Le Mans, and not because anything the racetrack correlates with the Le Mans circuit, but because you have to be prepared for the unknown. With the 6-hour format, you have to be ready for anything, just as you do when going to Le Mans. So that's what they're using this race as a dress rehearsal for, and that was a perfect pit stop for the number 3 crew.
Yes, interesting, isn't it? Ah, now there we go. There's Pizzoni in clear air, and he's back on the lead lap in class. Happened just a moment ago when we were watching the Corvettes on board with Scott Tucker. Watch for that brightly coloured car as we head towards turn number 4. It was late, but it was clean.
Yeah, again, absolutely. I mean, Pizzoni there, no messing. He just dives to the inside, clearly alongside, and he gives himself plenty of great driving by Antonio Pizzoni. I mean, he did exactly what he had to do, what he should do. You know, he didn't get squeezed in too tightly there, but he left the number 95 car a car width on the outside. That's all you have to do.
Pit stops for the leaders in GT. Both the Corvette and both the Ferrari and the Porsche are in.
It's a 45 flying Lizard Motorsports. Jörg Bergmeister now out of the car. Patrick Long getting behind the wheel. He will get 4 new Michelin tires and a full load of fuel. Patrick already strapped in. He's ready to go. Kelly?
And the 01 Extreme Speed Motorsports Ferrari in as well. They were first coming into this as the pit stop cycled through. Johannes van Overbeck is out. Scott Sharp is in. Scott Sharp started this race. He was battling a lot of understeer issues, but now they've managed to climb their way back up through the field, so the car must be a little bit happier now.
And it looks like the Ferrari may have just sneaked out in front there, Jeremy. Can't see the Porsche ahead of it, no. So Pat Long, a little bit further down, then goes to Corvette by him though. Now that is significant, because through then has gone, has that Magnussen gone through? It must have been. Surely it's not Ollie Gavin that's gone through as well. I think that is Magnussen that has gone through ahead of them. So now we have to wait for the Lotus is back out. Now that's interesting, because that car came back on a trailer around the outside of the track. So that's good news, being allowed to restart and get some more laps for Alex Job Racing. Well off the timing screens at the moment. So Klaus Graf is back in the lead car and circulating some 4 laps ahead. Can't believe it. Leitzinger from 3rd in class has put the 52 PC car in the kitty litter.
It looks like, just looking at the scoring thing here, and the last time when they came around, Leitzinger and Junqueira were virtually together, so was there some contact between these two?
Well, Butch is sitting there. He knows better than to try and get that car out. It is well beached. I'm guessing that's turn 3.
I think you're right.
It's one of the larger beach areas here at Master Raceway Laguna Seca. There's a certain amount of resignation on Butch's face. Oh yeah,
Bruno Junqueira diving down the inside.
Now he wasn't there that time, was he?
No, he wasn't.
And I think Butch might be a tad. Now that was a battle for position at the time,
for 3rd in class.
But I think that Butch has a right to look as disappointed, he says, being diplomatic, as he did there. And that is probably going to bring out a full course caution, he says cautiously. Can't imagine that they can get the snatch vehicle down there to get it pulled out.
No, I would doubt that. And certainly this is exactly what Antonio Pizzonia.
Oh, is it ever? Good point.
Is Darren Turner able to take advantage of this as well in the Aston Martin?
Well, he hasn't pitted yet.
Sure. Yeah, quite. That's my point.
Yeah, he hasn't pitted yet. It will not surprise any of you watching or listening to know that that overtake, attempted overtake, or assault and battery, is under investigation.
Sherlock on the job there.
Well, there is Darren Turner right in front as the full course caution comes out. Now, where's the leader? Oh, he's ahead of the leader. Dazzle's ahead of the leader. So if the pace car picks him up now, and look at Klaus Graf backing off. He knows he's got to get the pace car in front of him at some stage. Now the question is, where's the GT leader? Is he in front or behind of Klaus Graf? That could be a massive, massive break for the Aston Martin racing team. As we roll the safety car out of pit lane right now, Junqueira sort of gently goes past and doesn't look anywhere near the direction of Butch Leitzinger. Butch was certainly looking in the direction of Junqueira.
I think he's still a lap down. We shall see.
Well, the pits are closed. We're waiting to pick up the leader. That gives us an opportunity to take a breath and get ourselves sorted out. Still plenty of people waiting to see the last hour and 45 minutes of action, and it's just being reset nicely as we get more drama. Far fewer full course cautions than we've had in years gone by, and well done to the safety teams and of course to the corner workers and marshals. I know that we're heard on the public address here at Laguna Seca, and whilst it's quiet for a moment, I'd like to pay tribute to the men and women on the corners giving up their time It's a truism that we can do out without one or two officials, but not those guys. Forza Motorsports, for the official gaming partner of the American Le Mans Series. And that's www.forzamotorsport.net. And if you haven't got your copy yet, it's been in the shops long enough, really. And in fact, there is an event going on today, and forzamotorsport.net. There are your class leaders. We'll be back with the pits open at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca.
Everything we ever thought up. Everything we fight for. Everything we dream of. Everything we are. The new 911. Porsche Identity.
When it comes to fun family getaways, it's got to be Holiday Inn Club Vacations. Room to be yourself.
Hey, if you're like me, you hate when your gas-powered equipment won't start. It turns out the ethanol in street gas was causing deposits and dissolving my fuel lines. But then, I tried SEF small engine fuels. For 2 cycles, SEF is pre-mixed with oil, so you just pour it in and you're done. There's no ethanol in SEF, so you get quick starts even after long-term storage. Try SEF. It's the perfect fuel for gas-powered tools.
Life has all kinds of risks every day, you know, and that it makes life worthwhile if you do something you enjoy and you have a big passion for.
I think that to do what we do, you have to manage risk, and sometimes you manage wrong and you make mistakes.
But I think a lot of it has to do with your faith. You know, I think that when your time comes is when your time comes, and you might as well be standing on the gas the rest of the time.
We're back at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca for the 3rd round of the American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patron. Now, prototype racing, it's such a wide and varied group of cars. So many choices to make, and just one of those is whether to go closed or open. We're talking about the cockpits, of course, and Justin Bell has been exploring the pros and cons of each.
One of the rules of the road in the P1 and P2 prototype categories is that the teams have the option between a closed cockpit car and an open cockpit. Are there advantages and disadvantages? Of course there are. But this is the closed cockpit prototype. Very aerodynamic, as you can see. Low drag and potentially a higher top speed. But remember, this is ALMS sports car racing. You have to do driver changes. Sometimes the smaller driver has to jump in with a seat insert like this through that very small window gap there. Time can be lost in the pits, and so while both formats of cars do balance each other out in terms of performance, I feel personally that more time can be lost in a pit stop in a closed cockpit car than can be gained out in speed on the track.
It's a tough one. It is a tough one, and everybody's looked at this, and there's one of the open cars. That's the opposite thing that what Justin was just talking about, and there's the closed one again. I think if it was me,
pros and cons, but
if it was me, I'd have to have I think I'd have to have an open one and something to lower me in gently. I'm not sure I could get in through that.
Yeah, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of margin for error getting into the coupes, I must admit. But you know, it's
interesting to me that the rules a few years ago were meant to go to all closed cockpit cars, and that's been held off on. And I actually quite like that, because one of the things that sports car racing provides is variety, and there are many different answers to the question. The question is, build me a car that will go fast for a very long time, up to 24 hours in fact. And the answer is, well, everything that you see out there today, and they look and sound different, and that to me is the whole pleasure. The variety is the pleasure of sports car racing, and long may it stay like that. It's part of the traditions of the sport. Looks like we're coming round to open pits here. Prototypes can take the first nibble. The leader says no thank you very much, but certainly Antonio Pizzonia has gone into the pit lane, and it looks like Ricardo Vera as well in the 18 car. Yes, he has. There's Pizzonia. Dean Sterling's come in as well in the number 8 PC from second place. Alex Popow, the leader in PC, into the pit lane as well. So the first, or 3 of the first 4, as Memo Gidley joins them in the pit lane of the PC category, are in the pit lane. Our overall leader decided to stay out. And that was a very, very quick stop indeed for Alex Popow.
Yeah, he'd been in not that long ago.
And he was leading the category. Jonquière has gone through and taken 4th place overall and the lead in the category.
Again, I think counting down to the end of the race here. Now, having made this pit stop now, the 06 car is good to go to the end of the race with just one more pit stop.
And here is the message we were hearing, we were wondering about, and that is avoidable contact, stop and go plus 60 for the 9 car.
Yeah, which is shown as leading the class right now. Bruno Junqueira, to say, much as I love Bruno's enthusiasm for the sport, I think his enthusiasm got a little bit carried away with him there. You know, he was certainly quicker than Butch. He'd been making up a lot of ground. He'd come from a long way back during that fantastic stint, but I think I have to agree with race control there. A little bit optimistic that pass, and you have to serve a penalty, and that'll cost him more than a lap.
Quick flash of Christophe Bouchou there in the 0.55. In 5th position in P2, laps down, but will, I think, be able to make the 70% of the race, Jeremy, if they have a trouble-free run from there. And why that's important, dear viewer and listener, is because 70% you are deemed to have completed enough of the race to get points for the championship. And as Scott Tucker, driving both of those cars, the 95 and the 0.55, can only score points in one, he had to pick one, and he picked the 55, the 0.55 before we went racing this week. The GT cars have an option to pit now, and looks like the GTC leader is in. Yes, he is. Court Wagner. Blake Moreland comes in from second in the 66 Racers Group car. Lazaro comes in from 4th in the WeatherTech Alex Job Racing car. So again, 3 out of the top 4. Not everybody with the same thinking here, Jeremy. And the 007 comes into the pit lane as well for Darren Turner.
Darren Turner has got out of the Aston Martin. Adrian Fernandez now in, but when Darren Turner pulled in the 66 GTC from TRG, they're pitted right behind them, so he did pull in at an angle. They are able to fuel the car. They will go ahead and service it, but it is going to be challenging for Adrian Fernandez to get back out. It's also going to be challenging for the GTC car to get out behind him, so this could get interesting in just a couple seconds, but Adrian Fernandez is getting 4 new Michelin tires. He has full fuel. Took some oil, it looks like, as well, and now he's trying to get the car fired up. He gets out, no problem.
A nice job by the team, but for taking away the Michelin tyres from in front of the guys behind. They cleared their pit equipment very quickly indeed. And here comes the 66. This is a race on pit lane. Now, just watch to the right-hand side for the white car. Is it still there, or is it moving? I think it's just moving ahead. There's the 22 WeatherTech car, and the 24 has got out. So it's 24, 22, and 66 got out in that order. Now, last year, several prototype manufacturers asked Michelin to design the incredibly wide front tyres to help them go deeper on braking and carry more speed through the corners. And this year, the Michelin tyre engineers have had to do a complete U-turn with the tyre requirements for the Nissan Delta Wing being very different indeed, as Jamie found out.
Guys, this is the Michelin front tire for the Muscle Milk HPD prototype. As you can see, it is over 12 inches wide. But this is a specially designed front tire for the Delta Wing, which makes its debut at Le Mans next month. And it is only 4 inches wide, and complete with the wheel assembly, it weighs just under 20 pounds compared to this one, which weighs 45 pounds. Now, as you can imagine, it is a huge challenge for Michelin to develop in both directions at the same time, but they feel it's going to pay off not only on the racetrack, but also in the street tires.
Also noticed from those pictures, if you could see them, that it was a 3-stud wheel on there, not a centre lock wheel, a 3-stud wheel. Now, the last time I saw a street car with a 3-stud wheel was my old Talbot Samba. And Jamie's down in the pit lane as we've got more competitors pitting together.
It'll be a battle on pit road in the P2 category. Antonio Patonia, he's come to a stop in the 37 car. This is a fuel-only pit stop for the number 37, but the 95 is also in.
And there was a driver change on the 95 Level 5 Motorsports Honda. Frank Montagny, who had contact earlier in the 055 car, is back behind the wheel of the 95. Remember, they've got 4 drivers between the 2 cars, but there's 3 of them, or 2 of them, I should say, Scott Tucker and Frank Montagny driving in each of the 2 cars, so they've had to come up with that strategy as well. But it's Frank Montagny now taking over for the 95, which came into the pits leading P2.
Now, what's happened here, of course, is, remember we reported that the 37 got back on the lead lap, and they've taken this opportunity to go on the same strategy as the 95 car. Petoni has come in and fueled. Now, his tyres are older, but he's got the same amount of fuel on board as Frank Montagny, and he sits directly behind the leader in class when we go back green, which we're going to do at the end of this lap. 1 hour and 33 minutes still to run here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca for round 3 of the American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron. And Klaus Graf with now a 3-lap lead on the field, but the battle is behind between Montagny and Pizzonia on the same lap, on the same strategy, and Maya deep in the traffic. They'll have to come through the field as they battle for their leading class.
Yeah, there goes the race leader again. Once again, clear traffic in front of him, and in second place is the second of the P2 cars. Guy Smith now at the wheel of that car, but he's 8 laps adrift of the overall leader, but he's certainly still, it's really turned into a test session, I think, for Dyson Racing. They've just been struggling all weekend long, and about 20 laps ago that the best lap was turned in that car. I think my guy Smith, once he's been taken over at the wheel of it, but it's certainly been a struggle for Dyson Racing in that Lola Mazda. Not what they wanted here. They had the pole the last 2 years at this racetrack, and they currently came here with high expectations as Bruno Junqueira.
Oh, Damien! Faulkner
Good
there.
job by Damien Faulkner to steer clear of trouble there.
Well, Damien's battling a car that's not so good as it was at the beginning. Remember, we saw Bleckemullen coming in with tyre damage, and that did brake line damage as well. The guys have been battling really hard to get that car back out on the track, and now in 5th position and laps down. It's going to be very difficult for those guys who are, you know, right up there in the championship. These are the guys who have been setting the pace in the championship. They're going to struggle to get even back to the podium at this point. Meantime, in GT, as ever, there is a battle to talk about. The 3 and the 56, Magnussen and Dirk Muller. It's Jörg Muller, Jan Magnussen, Dirk Muller, Scott Sharp, Pat Long, Ollie Gavin, Wolf Hensler. All, by the way, within 8 seconds. Haven't we been here before? Oh my goodness, down the inside. That looked like Muller was having a look, and he's gone through. He's gone through. Just stuck his nose in very, very late as into the pit lane came Junqueira to serve his penalty for the avoidable contact. So there's a change of position. Second place now for Muller. So we have both Mullers in the BMW, 55 and 56. Jürgen, Dirk, and they are 1 and 2 in that order. Not confusing for us at all there, Jeremy. Muller and Muller.
Yeah, and again, you know, the pit stops. It's a fascinating battle still going on there. I mean, I'm not going to be interested to see exactly how many more pit stops each of these guys needs to make. The Corvette not getting quite as good fuel mileage, but look at this. It's very interesting because
he
the
let
number
him go.
3 car, yeah, let him go. I mean, 56 car really wasn't.
He wasn't there.
He wasn't there. No, Dirk Muller on Jan Magnussen. That's very surprising. Jan Magnussen just seemed to give him the room at the apex of the corner.
Let's have a listen.
On board.
Jan turned right. There, he turned right out of the way. Now,
I think he realised he was wondering if he was going to get hit there. I think probably what he was thinking. So he better give the BMW some room. That's all I can think of. But look,
he's dropped away. He's dropped back. Now, well, he's having trouble getting the car turned into the corner, and that's not normally a Jan Magnussen thing. And they've all just had pit stops, so tyres should not be an issue. If he's struggling with power steering or something like that, and he's finding it difficult to actually turn the wheel. Oh, as Dirk Muller kicks up the dirt ahead of Magnussen, and Scott Sharp is the next guy to get busy in terms of looking for that position. The GTC battle back together again. Wagner, Blegemolen, Safronas, 24.66.32 as
I think 32's a lap down.
Well, now here's a very interesting development for the number 9 car. Bruno Junqueira came into the pit lane. You saw a flash of him there in the pit lane for that stop and 60-second hold. Now he came into the pit lane and he has certainly not spent 60 seconds standing still, and I can tell you exactly why, Jeremy. He came into the pit lane to serve his penalty. The official mistakenly thought he had not taken the green and therefore was not eligible to serve his penalty and waved him straight through. So he was waved out by an official, and race control say, our mistake, we're not going to penalise you again. Now more penalties. Frank Montani working on the car whilst refueling, 20 seconds. And I think I heard Pizzonia getting a penalty as well, blocking for the 37. So Pizzonia will be in. That's first and second in P2, both having to serve penalties. Pizzonia had pulled out 10 seconds on Montani.
No, they'd been battling back and forth the last couple
because
of laps,
he came into the pits.
Yeah, they came out again. When we went back to green, these two were pretty much together, and they battled back and forth. And
needs to get in now.
Pizzoni got back into the lead, and Frank Montani got back into the lead. And then the reason they showed 10 seconds apart from scoring now is because Montani came into pit lane.
Of course,
so that was quite a battle that was going on there. Unfortunately, we
Pizzoni needs to come in right now. He does not want to spend time getting caught behind these cars, and he is. That's the wrong decision by him and the team. If he's got a penalty, he should have gone in before he was going to have to do these slow laps. Now he's only got, I believe, only a stop-go, whereas Montani had a stop and 20-second hold, but this is eating up into that 20 seconds that he would have had.
Yeah.
And that's a mistake for me, Jeremy.
Yeah, we have a stop-and-go penalty for block. So we have a stop-and-go penalty for blocking, so you have to pit next lap. Pit next lap.
That's Eric Bachelard there, the team owner from Belgium originally. He's been over here for a long, long time now, though, and he's got to be gritting his teeth when he's telling Antonio Pizzoni he's got to come into the pits, because what a great fight back this has been by this Conquest Racing team. They had the problem yesterday, a broken suspension mounting, effectively, is what it was. They had to. It was a machine part that they didn't have a spare for. It was too late to fly any spare in from anywhere. They had to find a machine shop right here in the Monterey area, which they did, and they worked all night to get that new part made up, put on the car. Also made some changes to it as well. In fact, they were working on the CAD CAM system to make that part overnight. But here now comes Pizzonia. They lost that lap earlier on, but they've got themselves back into contention. Now he is serving his penalty.
So the question is, where is Frank Montani in the 95 car? He's on the far side of the circuit from us. But heading back down towards us, there's the official at the end of the pit. Look in the middle of the screen, he's got his hand up. And what will happen? Stop, and waves him on. Don't stall it. He has stalled it. He has stalled it. Oh my goodness me.
It only cost him a second or two perhaps, but again, inexperience there from Antonio Pizzoni.
And there's Montani coming out the final corner. This is actually going to be pretty close, Jeremy.
Is his entrance to the track going to be any better this time around?
Yes.
Thank you.
He's got some damage and all kinds of...
So he's got back into the lead, I think, in P2.
Yeah, we'll look for the black car.
Hook or crook as Antonio Pizzoni.
Look for the black car behind. There's damage to the rear under tray of that car. Through goes the 27 of Johnny Cocker.
Yeah, Johnny Cocker driving that car now. And,
good to have him back.
Turning some good laps in that car last time around was 1:19.4. So again, you know, this Dempsey Racing team really treating this as a development exercise this weekend. They only made the decision to come to this race less than a week ago. They had a test at Miller Motorsports Park, and you know, all three drivers, well, two drivers, because Johnny Cocker wasn't part of the team at the test. Dane Cameron actually helped to shake down this car, give them a baseline for the setup, and both Joe Foster and Patrick Dempsey felt good enough. They felt, you know, we can go to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, not embarrass ourselves, and just learn some more about this car. So that's what they're doing. And they are really doing a nice job this weekend. Johnny Cocker, he's driving in the Blancpain Endurance Series in Europe and doing some GTs racing, I think, in England as well, is he not, John? But hasn't driven a prototype for a couple of years. But you know, he's a good friend of Lola's through his association with Paul Drayson, and it was Lola's that made the recommendation to Dempsey Racing to use Johnny Cocker in this role.
Now they want Johnny in the pits at the moment. But they've got no radio communication, so it's back to the old pit boards. Start waving at him, then you start throwing things at him. He's looking to the left. Now, has he seen his pit board this time around? Normally you have a little flash of the headlights if you've seen it. But they're just one of the little things, niggles on a new car. Either he hasn't got his radio leads plugged in correctly, or there's a problem with it. Still got those problems with the dive cranes on the front of the car, but it hasn't seemed to have slowed it down.
That's some, but obviously not too much. Look at that bounce, the left one they're bouncing around there. So
that's the good one.
That's my point, yeah. So it probably balances itself out actually, with the problem on the other side as well. With the flapper fin on the left front. Just look at the lap times for Bruno Junqueira. He's lapping, well, last lap round he was considerably quicker than the two guys ahead of him in PC, but last time around Alex Popov puts in a very good 1:20.4, and it is Alex Popov in the number 06 car that leads by about 17 seconds over Dean Sterling, who's driving the number 8 car for the Merchant Services team. They've done a very good job to get that car into contention, and then about another 5 seconds back and closing quickly is Bruno Junqueira in the car number 9.
Now Johnny doesn't come in this time around. This could be getting marginal. Let's have a look at his pit board. Can we see it? Look, there is the pit board being held out. Please come in. Yes. Need to send somebody further down the pit lane, and
because it's pretty close to the exit of turn 11. They're
I
think
that's what it is, and maybe I need to start waving a bit more. If you're up with the corkscrew and you can quickly make something up with a Sharpie that says Johnny in, that would be great. All right, I'm only joking. Damage on that car as well. Again, Jeremy, just made the point. You know, we've been through Sebring, 60-odd cars, the streets of Long Beach, which is always normally has a lot of attrition, but we've had pretty good car counts at the finish. We've got a lot of very, very battle-weary cars. Scar down the side of that car where there's been side-to-side contact on the number panel. You saw the car being nosed into the tyres by Patrick early on. I do like he's answered the question. Yes, I found out where reverse was, so that was a very useful thing to know. So Johnny Cotter comes through turn 10. Does he peel off into the pit lane this time? He does not! He can't have, I mean, he'll know where the fuel warning light is. So if he's short on fuel, maybe he'll just come in when the light comes on. black flagging him or anything like that, so he would see that at the start-finish line. Hour and 20 to go. Klaus Graf continues on his merry way at the head of the field in the number 6 Muscle Milk HPD Honda.
4-lap lead now, thanks to the various penalties served by the two P2 cars behind him, and it's Antonio Pizzoni who still holds the advantage now in P2, but Frank Montagny has got the hammer down. Last time around, Montagny in car number 95 turned his best lap in that car, 117.350, which is less than a tenth of a second slower than the race leader that time around. So he's absolutely flying now, and is Montagny. And
the gap is down to 2.6 seconds.
It's going to be worth watching.
Yeah.
Over these next few laps, number 37 and the 95 battling over second place overall and first in the P2 category. The lighter prototypes, of course, a little bit lighter, less horsepower than the P1 cars, but as we're seeing, pretty quick. And certainly, we talked about it earlier on, the variety that we have now in the chassis and engines and the tyres in P2. Fascinating cars.
A couple of decent battles on the circuits. That P2 battle, also the battle for second and third in PC with Dean Sterling and Bruno Junqueira separated by a second and a half. And of course, if you want to look for a big battle, then the top 6 in GT is still separated by less than 10 seconds. Scott Sharp got onto the back of that and just hasn't been able to close in. He's a couple of seconds further back from that leading group of 6 cars. The sun just beginning to get a little bit lower. The shadows lengthening here.
That GT battle there, Patrick Long, he's just turned the best lap in the number 45 Flying Lizard car.
And looking for the lead in category. He's got him. He's got him. As Pizzoni seemed not to have any grip at all, and Montagny goes around the outside. The Frenchman absolutely decisive there, and actually made that look so easy. I sort of checked myself before I went into overdrive because I wasn't sure whether he was taking the lead or lapping another car.
Yeah,
what's happened to Pizzoni? He's dropped off the pace. He's on stint older tyres, of course. That was fuel only last time around for that car. I did notice some damage as well on the left-hand rear view mirror. Oh, and we've got the 0-2 off. That is the ESM car. And that is Ed Brown, 11th in GT, coming down the hill. And he was... Seth Nyman is the next car in line, but he was too far ahead, so he wasn't battling with him. As it unbelievably small animals in the bottom of the picture, that close to this. Whoa. So, tell me that wasn't the 18 again. Oh, that's Ricardo Vera in that car. So it wasn't Junqueira this time, and we have our...
They're going to have to pull you out, it looks like.
Fifth full course caution. Hour and 16 to go. Now you've got a choice. If you're in one of the classes that can go just over an hour, what do you do? Do you take this stop and go for the splash at the end? Do you stay out and play the cards you've got? Maybe hope for another yellow flag? No worries for Klaus Graf.
Just relax in there. They're going to have to come on in. Come on, I'll get you.
Frank Montagny, having just taken the lead in P2, will not be happy to see the safety car come out. It allows Antonio Pizzoni's tyres to cool.
This is going to be tight. We've seen, looking down through my notes here, about an hour and eight minutes or so. 5 minutes is about all the GT cars can do, I think, on a full tank of fuel. So,
I think I'd roll the dice. You're betting that if you don't do it, if you don't take it in a GT car now, you're betting there'll be no more full course cautions.
Yeah, I think you have to come in now. You're going to have to make a stop in any case.
Correct.
Between now and the end of the race, and if there is another full course caution, then you should be able to make it without making that extra splash and go.
Correct.
So I think we'll see wholesale pit stops in GT.
So the hard-working ALMS safety team as we look at the Forza Motorsport 4 track map. It's turn 9 coming down the hill. There was a masterful piece of avoidance by one of the GTC cars, which I think was one of the leading cars.
Durand Blakemore.
Yeah.
I've just got a glimpse of it. Yeah, he went right around the outside, didn't he, and kept it out of the gravel, out of the tyres, out of the...
I have no idea how he did that, and I'll be surprised if there's not some splitter damage to that GTC Porsche, whichever one it was, that had to go around there. Ed Brown.
Jamie will got a not instant message to him.
Ed Brown not at all happy at being left in the gravel, so he clearly feels he was helped out there. Mentioned, by the way, for the 25 Dempsey Racing PC car, Duncan Endy at the wheel at the moment, and also Butch Leitzinger. Both had problems earlier on and have fought their way back up to 6th and 7th position in that category, 17th and 18th overall. So Ed Brown then waits the tow from the GM Chevy safety truck. And with an hour and 13 still to go, we'll take a break before the pits open and see who does take the opportunity of making that pit stop in not only the GT but also the prototype classes, excuse me. Now everybody's always busy on the track, but also getting out the pits is really important too. Winner.
Duck. Duck. Goose.
Our technology builds some of the best tires in the world, because when it comes to performance, we don't just play around.
Cheater, we said no 360s.
Who's up for some leapfrog? Hi, I'm Dennis Gage, and I gotta tell you about a smart charging system that keeps my entire fleet of machines on call at all times. It's called Battery Tender, and it's not just for my classic cars. Deltran battery tenders have a microprocessor that monitors everything. It never overcharges. It just takes batteries up to a full charge and keeps them there. So whether it's cars, motorcycles, mowers, or ATVs, Battery Tender keeps them all ready for action. If it's not a Deltran battery tender, it's just a pretender.
The drive that fuels the WeatherTech racing team is the same that drives us to make the highest quality automotive accessories. WeatherTech, driven to perform.
What do you drive? Is it inspiring? Was it built by a behemoth car maker? Or insightful craftsmen obsessing over the details, building better cars for a discerning few? Are you one of the few who care about what you drive and how it drives? We're with you, because we believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. We build Mazdas. What do you drive?
The American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron, the fusion of man, mind, and machine in the ultimate test, where the fight for first is around every corner and the sole focus of every driver. It's 100% adrenaline, because the battle for the win is everything. And there's only one place in North America to see the thrills of Le Mans. It's the American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron. Coming at you on ABC, ESPN 2, and ESPN 3.
Welcome back to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Now the American Le Mans Series and Chevrolet Corvette have teamed up again for a racing fan's dream, and the prize of a lifetime includes a 2013 Chevrolet 427 Corvette convertible. It's the 60th anniversary special edition, and if that wasn't enough, an all expenses paid VIP insider trip to the 24 Hours of Le Mans. If you'd like to be in with a chance of winning this, all you've got to do is go to race2wincorvette.com and you could be taking away the ultimate sports car fan's dream prize. Race2wincorvette.com. Can I have one in blue, please? I think that's my answer to that. So, still under the full course caution, and it's time now to start getting out the slide rules and working out your fuel mileage, particularly if you're a GT runner, because we're getting awfully close, Jeremy Shaw, to being able to go from here to the end of the race with a stop around about now. It's tight though, isn't it?
It is tight, yeah, and it just depends how long this caution is going to be. It's very, very dodgy, but I think we're going to see everybody into the pit lane. That's would be my call.
Well, of course, the next race in the American Le Mans Series is not till July. Why such the big gap? Well, it's the 80th anniversary running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and that means a big logistical challenge for many of the American Le Mans Series team, as Jamie Howe can tell us.
One of those teams is Corvette Racing. Now, Corvette, they also supply European teams with parts, and so on April 22nd, they sent their first shipment over to Le Mans. That was done by Ocean Freight. It included a race transporter, included tools, some equipment that they're going to need. The cars are here this weekend. Now, these are the same two cars who will take part in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So these two cars, after this weekend, they'll head back to Detroit. They'll be prepped, and then on May 22nd, the cars, as well as 46 crates of equipment and spares, those will be shipped over air freight from Chicago to England. The crew will then head to England. They'll meet the truck. They'll pick up the cars and everything that was shipped over. Then they'll drive it all down to Le Mans, and then on June 3rd, the cars will be back on the track for the Le Mans test days.
Remarkable, remarkable stuff. Thank you very much, Jamie, and just giving us a slight insight into what goes on before the cars even get to race day. Now, the second place P1 car is in. It's not been a standout event for the number 16 Thetford Geol Dyson Lola, but they are...
Water is done.
Oh, water is done, they're telling Guy Smith. He's in 9th overall.
Certainly not the showing that the Dyson Mazda crew would like to have here at the Mazda Raceway at Laguna Seca. Each of the three drivers behind the number 16 car certainly unhappy with some of the handling. The last time by in the pits, they tried to make some adjustments to the suspension. I think this is a matter of this crew, this team just wanting to get to the end of this race and collect points.
Yeah, keeping the championship alive, that's the thing. You've got to keep it going into Petit Le Mans, because there's extra points there and there can be a big swing in fortune.
Yeah, extra points here too, a couple of points here for a 6-hour race. And Guy Smith, he's been turning a lot better laps recently. He's turned the best of 1 minute 16.8, which is just over a second slower than our race leader. Admittedly, he hasn't been pushed, but certainly Guy Smith has been able to get a little bit more out of this car in the later stages of this race.
0-2, the ESM Ferrari that was involved, being called in the pits to replace the rear view mirror, the left-hand rear view mirror, as we're on board with the 55 of Bill Auburn.
Well, not so long ago, that 0-2 car, when Guy Cosmo was at the wheel during his last stint, he set the fastest lap in the GT class for this race, which was pretty impressive. Actually, since then, it has been eclipsed just by Oliver Gavin, who only about 5 or 6 laps before this caution turned a 1:23.624 fastest lap, and that was just a gnat's whisker quicker than the best that Guy Cosmo had turned.
GT pit stops, and all of the leading 6-7 are in the pit lane. 2 BMWs, 2 Corvettes. Look at how the Corvettes park, nose out.
car was the first to pit road. These cars are right on their marks. They've been told by Doug Behan, their program manager, you guys have got to hit your marks. We've got to do everything we can to get this race under our belts. And number 3 car was up on the jacks first. The number 4 team, they've got a lot to prove, and it's not been a clean pit strategy for them so far. The number 1 car, they are going to be out of the lane first, and they are side by side with the 45 listeners. And when this time it was the 3 car that could not get it underway.
If the 3 car had started, it would have gone out in front of everybody. It's the 4 car and the Flying Lizards who are racing up pit lane on the pit lane speed limiter. And for my money, was there a pass there in pit lane? They're both on the speed limiter.
Well, really, well, yeah.
I mean, it's not something that you normally see, so who gave way to whom?
Wholesale shuffling though there.
That is, you really have shuffled the pack. In fact, you've picked the deck up and just thrown it over your shoulder there.
Gosh.
And I wonder why the 3 car couldn't get restarted. Magnussen.
When do you want to make your best pit stop of the day? The last pit stop of the day. You know, the number 4 car, they've had problems at each of their 2 previous pit stops, but this time was a very, very good stop indeed, and that has certainly vaulted that car right up in there for Oliver Gavin.
Now, can I just throw this into the mix, Jeremy? The BMWs so far today, if you assume that they're using a full tank of fuel and not stopping early, and why would they, have not had the fuel mileage of everybody else in GT. So they are going to be, if anybody's marginal, the BMWs are marginal at 1 hour and 4 minutes still to run. Now, we're not back to full green flag racing, and they will be desperate for this to run, I think, a couple of laps longer under yellow.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the BMWs are going to be struggling because there was a stop on when Joey Hand made his first pit stop under green. Was at well, a couple of hours ago now. He'd only done a little bit less than an hour actually.
Yeah.
The Corvettes are going a little bit longer than that, but the BMW, yeah, it's going to be tight. It's going to be very tight for the BMW. But we're showing now what, 1 hour and 3 minutes to go. We're still going to have at least another couple of laps of caution. So it's just going to be close. I think they'll be okay, but certainly not by very much. And they would have to make sure they got every drop of fuel into those cars at that pit stop. But what a great stop there by Flying Lizard too. I mean, I think they vaulted Jörg Bergmeister into the lead, have they?
Second place because Wolf Hensler didn't stop.
No, he did. I think he did. I think what our scoring is showing here is just.
Oh, look forward from the Porsche.
I think everybody pitted, and I think the thing about it is that the number 17 car was on a slightly different strategy. That had been in not too long ago, so therefore needed only a splash of fuel relatively compared to everybody else. So that's why the number 17 car has been able to vault to the whole front of the field in GT.
Well, Wolf Hensler's at the wheel.
Yeah.
All of a sudden we have 2 Porsches. For the first time today, we've got 2 Porsches at the head of the field.
Yeah, because he was on a slightly different, like I say, he was on a slightly different fuel strategy than all the other contenders in GT. But now, with the timing as it is coming of this caution period now, he's been able to come in, just take on about a half a tank. Really, is all he really needed. So he saved a lot of time there on the pit lane.
I would say he's taken the tyres as well, though, Jeremy, because they look like fresh faulted tyres on that car. Just look at, take a look at the how bright the name of the tyre manufacturer is. Oh dear me, Ryan Lewis has got a big one. Stock plus 2.5 and stock plus 20 for the 9. Junqueira in 3rd place in PC, speeding on pit lane.
Number 9 car, they're doing, poor Bruno Junqueira's doing everything he can to try and lose this race now, it seems.
It's a good looking pass.
Green though with what, 1 hour and 1 minute to go.
And that was Memo Gidley going through, getting his lap back. And that could be yet important in the big scheme of things. 1 hour and a minute, 61 minutes. That's going to be somewhere in the region of 28 laps for the leaders, maybe 29. And there is the GT leader, the Falcon Tyres Porsche.
Yet another GT leader this afternoon. Most of the cars are there.
Everybody's there GT.
Yeah, pretty much actually. Not far off.
stop in this lap. You're going to go to pit out. You're going to go to pit out. Stop and go.
So, who was that call for there on the radio? Did you hear that?
That was the 45's radio. That was the 45's radio we were listening to. So that was Jörg Bergmeister. He's got trouble on the... Oh, stop and go for the 45. They got the pit equipment around the air hose wrapped around the rear wing, and he comes straight into the pit lane.
Speed limit. Just stop and go, buddy.
Tell you what, I'm surprised he didn't stay out there for a few laps and kind of act as a bit of a block for the other GT cars, because a fellow Porsche out in front here, and you know, we've seen it before.
No, don't shut it off. Just stop and go.
He's gonna. The problem is he's going to have a piece, the prototype car ahead of him, that's stopping for longer.
Yeah.
He needs to give himself room to pull past him. Good, well done, Thomas Blam.
Well
give yourself some room, he said.
But boy, what a costly mistake there for Flying Lizzie. You don't see them make many pit stop mistakes. Whether it was,
and it's pulled the gurney flap off. Look, it's pulled the gurney flap off the left-hand side. It's gone completely on the right-hand side, and it's hanging off. You can see there on the left rear the silver piece of aluminium.
Boy, all that hard work in that pit stop, a great job to get that car out in ahead of everybody else except for the number 17 car, but now it's all been undone because of that pit stop, and that's going to be very, very difficult.
A little bit of the gurney should be okay though, but you may get a little more oversteer.
And again, great heads-up information being given to his driver. Was meant to go and have a chat.
Yeah, the two ends are missing. The two ends are missing.
Amazing, isn't it? That little 3/4 inch piece of flat on the back of the huge rear wing, really, should make so much difference, and that the driver can feel the difference. But Jörg Bergmeister can. As I was meant to go and have a chat with Thomas Blanc today, but with the fog and everything changing around, wasn't able to get down and have a chat with him. I'm really disappointed by that, because I really like talking to Thomas. He's another one of those guys with a computerized brain. Now, all kinds of debris on the start-finish line.
We just lost the two ends of the gurney, so you just have the middle. Just have the middle.
Just ahead of the Flying Lizzie car is that battle that's going on actually for GT Challenge, as well as we see the BMW of Dirk Müller running a little bit wide there on the exit off turn 4.
And that is the top 5 in GT back together again. A Porsche, a Corvette, 2 BMWs, and the second Corvette in fairly close quarters. And Jan Magnussen is the 5th there. Ollie Gavin is looking for the lead with Wolf Hensler right ahead of him. Now, Falcon Tyres have won a couple of races in the American Le Mans Series, won spectacularly in the wet at Mid-Ohio last season, when by my reckoning Hensler passed at least 12 cars on what was going to be the final lap, but he's going to get some hassle down the inside into 11. That's very tight indeed, and there's rubbing, and Ollie Gavin is muscling his way through. And now, will the American front engine car, the big V8, have the ponies? Or will the German rear-engine car have the drive? The Ponies wins it. We're coming down into the hairpin. Hensler has another little look there. Well, robust, Jeremy, but I think on the borderline of being all right.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think you know, just a good muscular pass there by a muscular driver and a muscular car. Perfect. That's what it's all about, and I don't think Wolf can really complain there. Wow. It was one of the, I think it was a PC car, was it there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was after that pit stop, the lengthy pit stop for the number 25 car, serving its lengthy penalty, which is not really significant because it was out of contention already. And but talking of PC, there has been a change in the lead in PC. The two core Autosport cars have switched around. Colin Brown, since we went back to green, has got past Alex Popov, so it's now the 05 ahead of the 06. Kyle Marcelli now finds himself up into 3rd place in that class in car number 8 for Merchant Services Racing. And Bruno Junqueira, after that pit stop, is down in 4th place.
Another stop will go for Frank Montani. This is the leader in P2, 2nd overall, holding up the field on the restart. False start, stop and hold. So Pitsonia, who's 5 seconds back, will reach us. Nobody want to win P2.
This is extraordinary.
Can we roll a car out? Because we've got half a chance here. People just keep wanting to throw this P2 lead away.
Yeah, we've got Johnny Cochran riding the Dempsey racing car. He's third in the class. That's the good news. The bad news is about 25 laps behind.
These guys keep getting stops, though.
He's going to take themselves out of the race fairly shortly. And Johnny Cochran can win it overall.
Looks to me as though Ollie Gavin's made his bid for freedom. And he's got a lapped ESM Ferrari between himself and the chasing pack.
Yeah, I think
lots of blue flags there. And through goes Wolf Henster. Through goes the 25 Dempsey Racing PC car with Ryan Lewis at the wheel. They've had their brushes with authority this weekend as well, in 6th position in class at the moment. Oh, that's a nice move by Wolf Henster. He's got himself a bit of breathing room.
Yeah, and the tail end of this whole group here is the other, I think, ESM Ferrari with. Yeah, there he comes just down the hill.
That's Van Overbeek.
Johannes Van Overbeek, who's taken over again from Scott Sharp. And we saw earlier on that Johannes was absolutely flying. This is his home track. He loves the place. And he's got that car on the tail end of this battle. There's, what, 3.5 seconds he is off the lead, but 6th place in GT.
And that is the battle for second we're watching. There was contact there between the Corvette and the prototype challenge car. No harm, no foul, I would say. That's Jan Magnussen, and behind Jan Magnussen is Johannes Van Overbeek.
Yeah.
And Magnussen's clearly got the hurry up now.
I think Oliver Gavin is really going to be hard to catch here because that car's been fast all weekend. Ollie is really on his game. But watch that extreme smoker. This is the second of the Corvettes, the car number 3 for Jan Magnussen. But right behind Jan there is Johannes Van Overbeek in that Ferrari F458 Italia. And he's got a point to prove here. He loves this place. He's won here in the past. He hasn't won in a Ferrari here, though, I don't think. And that is what he would dearly love to do. I think he's been struggling to get into the lead overall. But I fancy a second place is certainly very much on the cards for Extreme Speed Motorsports.
Now, remember how we got the Falcon car leapfrogging all of these guys. They did come in the pit lane, as Jeremy said. They needed less fuel, so they were standing still for fewer seconds than everyone else. They did not take tyres. But remember, they're only halfway through the stint of those tyres, thanks to the guys at Falcon ALMS, and also to Tom Looms, who asked the question and copied us in on it on Twitter as we're inside the last hour of the race. 52, just on 53 minutes still to go. Drivetrain problems for Johnny Cocker and the 27. He's gone behind the wall, thanks to the Reverend Al Green, who tweeted that to us at Jeremy Shaw Racer and at Specutainment. Nowadays, keeping track of a race is so much easier. You've got so many eyes around the track with all these people with mobile devices. Thanks, guys, for keeping us up to date. So Wolf Henster doing a spectacular job on half a stint older tyres than the guys behind him. We've got that PC car right in there, trying to come back through the field, and that's Carl Marcelli, isn't it?
Yes.
In that car, yeah.
Yes,
in the 8 car.
Costing himself a little bit of time here trying to get through this GT traffic jam. So he's about a half a minute behind the 2 Core Auto Sport cars. He's going to have a hard time catching up with those, I think. But he has worked his way now through, so he should be able to set sail and see what he can do to reduce that deficit to Alex Popov, who's fallen about, I think, 7 or 8 seconds behind his teammate Colin Brown.
I haven't seen
GTC. In GTC, meanwhile, Jerome Blakemolen has taken over the lead in that class. He's got past the number 24 car with Michael Avenatti at the wheel right now, and those 2 cars are still though within just a couple of seconds.
Alex Papau comes into the pits from second in PC, and Kyle Marcelli, the car we were just talking about, goes up into second place as again Hensler has to defend into the Andretti hairpins. And he's very fair. He's making that Porsche even wider than the extra couple of inches that it got on the body kit over the winter. Still haven't seen Frank Montani in for his stop-go. He's pushing his luck a little bit here. There is Marcelli. He's just gone up into second place in the class as Popau comes in for what should be his last pit stop in the PC, the 06 core car.
Yeah, and I'm surprised they didn't take the opportunity to come in during that previous...
Maybe it was just too early for them, Jeremy.
Caution, did they? They came in 5:53 was their last pit stop by my reckoning. It was on lap 173. So, yeah, why they elected not to make the stop during this... It was the last caution. It was after that, wasn't it? Yes, it was. So, yeah, I thought that was it was strange at the time that they didn't bring that car into the pit lane. And now I'm very much querying it, because that's going to cost them the lead in the class. And I think, yeah, Carlo Marcelli, I think, should have made his final stop already. Very strange.
Just to reiterate, the Dempsey Racing 27 Lola behind the wall with quote-unquote drivetrain problems. Guy Smith still behind the wall in the 16 car. That car, in fact, as I say that car's just gone out. The 16, that was a long stop for them, over 12 minutes.
Tom Kimber-Smith is actually going to resume in 5th place back in PC in the 06 car.
And he's only got 6 seconds to Memo Gidley.
Yeah, that was as he was coming out of the pit lane though, I think. So, you know, he's got a lot of ground to make up, and I don't think there's any way he can make up all that.
Do you think everybody ahead of him's done that last stop, Jeremy?
I think so. I'm not sure about number 5 car from Memo Gidley, but knowing those guys on that team, I would have presumed they have done. Colin Brown I'm not sure about as well, to be perfectly honest. Let me look at my scoring. His last pit stop was on lap 161 now, so he's going to have to make another pit stop before the end of the race.
Meantime, the GT battle is still just bunged up behind that Fulton Porsche. The leader, Ollie Gavin, he is out in clear air in the number 4 GM Chevy Corvette. He's got a couple of seconds. He's not pulling away as much as I thought. Down the inside in the final corner, but last of the late breakers, Wolf Hensler holds off the charge of Dirk Muller. In fact, it's Bill Oberlin behind him. He's gone past his teammate. That's a change of position there on that last lap.
Yeah, that's right, isn't it?
Yeah, so, and there's a change for 3rd as well.
Yeah,
as through goes Magnussen, yes. And Van Overbeek, so is there now a problem for Muller?
Yeah, of course, yeah, we've seen that car, it's lost the rear valance on that car. It's been off for a long, long time. They're not necessarily going any faster now than they were before, but it's slipping back quickly, and the next guy that's looking to pounce will be Johannes Van Overbeek in that 01 Ferrari.
Now, will Bill Oberlin have any better luck than his teammate climbing the hill to the corkscrew for the 202nd time as Ollie Gavin continues to lead the class? He's matching his lap times with the guys behind him. He's not pulling away. Oberlin, the quickest guy off that battle last time around with a 24.9. Oh, and Oberlin's got a great run coming down towards turn 10. Will he dive to the inside? Don't think he can. So now he needs to continue. He looks to drivers left and then does the cutback on the inside. And that's a super move by Bill, but he's not quite there. He's got a little bit of a nudge going on. Oh, that's naughty by both of them there. As Hensler pulls across right in front, and Magnussen's got a chance across the start-finish line. He may outdrag them both. He's going to make up 2 positions. He's going to have to go Buffalo Gals round the outside into the hairpin, and he won't get that done. And somehow, after all of that, Wolf Hensler goes back into 2nd place, and there's no places changed from the last lap around. You'd have put money on something changing there.
Yeah, you'd have put money on carbon fibre flying all over the place there down at the Andretti hairpin, but he didn't have heads-up driving by all of these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them nose to tail. Brilliant racing. And, yeah, there's certainly a bit of rubbing there coming in and out of turn 11, but they all got away with it.
And of course, you can only do this when you're in the first few laps of a 20-minute race. Oh no, we're on lap 200 and something with 46 minutes left of a 6-hour race. Do these guys just not know what's going on? It's fabulous. Absolutely great. What do we need to do to GT racing? Nothing at all. Just leave it. It's magic. It really is. And they've actually just dropped about a second to the leader, and there's traffic now involved, and that traffic is the GTC leader As again down the inside, that's a much better run for Oberlin, and Hensler gets hung out to dry, and Magnussen says, I'll have a bit of that. He goes inside Hensler and outside Oberlin and does take those 2 positions, as meantime Muller goes through into 4th, so poor Wolf Hensler gets shuffled back from 2nd to 5th in about, well, the length of the start-finish straight.
And that was a great pass by Bill Oberlin. And, you know, if young drivers watching this, is a great resource that the Road Racing Drivers Club has put together. It's called safeisfast.com, and there's a whole bunch of tutorials there from experienced drivers about various different aspects of the sport. And one of the techniques of racing was about overtaking. And if you watch that video, safeisfast.com, Bill Oberlin tells you how he goes about overtaking, and it's exactly what he did right there on Wolf Hensler. You've got to size up your opposition. You've got to make your pass incisively. He tried a couple of times, almost got it done, but not quite. That time, though, he was absolutely alongside Wolf Hensler at the turn-in point. Brilliant pass by Bill Oberlin.
Just experience counting, really, there. Jörg Bergmeister's just radioed the pits to say that there's a very odd problem with the 7th place GT, the Flying Lizard number 45. He's got a buzzing in the cockpit, which is in fact a B. He has a B in the cockpit. That is no fun at all. And we can laugh about it, but that could be quite dangerous.
Of course, we talked about that brilliant pass by Bill Oberlin, but of course he's also been passed by Jan Magnussen.
Yes.
So Jan Magnussen now, we've got a Corvette 1-2, and yeah, boy, these guys have worked hard for that today. They've both had some problems at various stages, but they've got themselves up into the front 2 positions here. Paul Brown is in the pits now as well. I look at the scoring. So the second of the core Autosport cars now onto pit lane for its final stop of the day.
So maybe that 06 car is sitting pretty. It's going to depend on whether Memo Gidley and Junqueira has to stop again. Now Frank Montani has taken his stop-go now, or his drive-through, and Pitsonia then has gone back into the lead of P2, but only by 9.5 seconds. Last time around, Montani did a 17.5. That's half a second quicker than Graf in the P1 car, leading the race. That is magic stuff. I think we're going to have a great battle. We could see another one of these ALMS races, Jeremy, here today, where, other than P1, the rest of the classes are going to be separated by less than a second. Certainly, I'm not calling the GT, the P2 or the PC battle at the moment, and GTC is only 8.5 seconds between Blecken, Mullen and Avenatti. There are your leaders. We've got just over 40 minutes still to go, and there's plenty of racing still left in this one.
Everything we ever thought up. Everything we fight for. Everything we dream of. Everything we are. The new 911. Porsche Identity.
When it comes to fun family getaways, it's got to be Holiday Inn Club Vacations. Room to be yourself.
The wind can run, but it can't hide.
Hey man, you're supposed to work up a sweat doing the work, not starting your equipment. A friend of mine who's a fireman told me this is what they use when they need stuff to start. This SEF has no ethanol in it, so it can sit in there for months and start up easy every time. Plus, it's pre-mixed with oil, so you can pitch this stuff. Try SEF, the perfect fuels for gas-powered tools.
What a race. What a race we are having. If you're just joining, Jeremy Shaw and myself, John Hindhaugh, where have you been and have you got a note from a responsible adult for being away for this long? The GT battle has been smouldering all afternoon and it's just burst into life again with Ollie Gavin leading from his teammate Jan Magnussen in second place by about 6 seconds, but everybody else is in third, it seems, at the moment in GT. In P2, first and second have less than 3 seconds between them. Frank Montani having served his stop-go penalty, not the first this afternoon. His last one for messing up the restart, effectively. Montani charging back to Antonio Pizzonia. Look, now Montani comes into the pits. This will be fuel only, we're here from the team.
All the way in, clear all the way in. Shut the engine off when you get to the burst.
Now this is interesting. This must be the first time that can they only do 38 minutes on a tank? No wonder he was pushing hard. He must have been low on fuel.
Be ready here. Up again. And they're going to put their other guy in.
Now that's interesting. They realise that Pizzonia has to stop again in the leading 37 car and there will be a driver change. Normally if you do a driver change, you do a set of tyres as well.
Flint line also. No more penalties from us.
Yes, no more penalties from us. Clean race from here. So Montani goes out. He's going to be the better part of, well, a minute back on Pizzonia. And meantime, whilst we were watching the battle in P2, of course, something happened in GT. Well, of course, that's what happens, isn't it? We have eyes everywhere. And we can tell you that Bill Oberlin has gone into second place ahead of Jan Magnussen. These two have battled out in GTs, in prototypes down through the years. And Oberlin using all of his guile again to go back up into second place. He held it for a brief moment when he went past Wolf Hensler, who's dropped down to 5th place. But and his lap times are holding up. He's still in the 25s.
Yeah, I mean he's certainly. What's interesting there is that Jans van Overbeek has not been able to find a way around Wolf Hensler like these other guys have. It's a little bit surprising. It's a lot cooler now, of course. Sun is, you can see the length of the shadows there, so it's a lot cooler than it was earlier on. And again, we talked about it earlier on. Tyre strategies now, you know, there's softer tyres and harder tyres have more grip. Perhaps they work better in warmer conditions, and other tyres that work better in cooler conditions. Have they got the right cars on the right tyre at the right time in the race? That's the key.
Joey Hand with target acquired on the back of Jan Magnussen. He will be completely focused on the back end of that Chevy Corvette ahead of him and potentially a podium finish for BMW. Well, listen how the car went light there. You could hear the engine note rise as he came down through the corkscrew. Now heading down towards turn 10. Now Bill Oberlin up into second ahead of Jan Magnussen. Here's how it happened. Just a few moments ago.
A little bit of daylight between them as well.
Yes, he has. Bill Oberlin and Jan Magnussen have battled for many, many years.
Managed to close a little bit too on Oliver Gavin that time around, but still just over 5 seconds between first and second in GT. Good luck there, 123.9 for Bill Oberlin in the BMW.
That's a
That's
very
what we've
good
seen
lap.
for a while, yeah.
Yeah. That's against a 25-1 from Gavin, who must have been in traffic. He's on lap 211, as all of the top 7 in GT. Now, I did promise that we'd show you how the second place changed. Bill Oberlin on board with him. The car ahead is Jan Magnussen going up to turn 5. Magnussen's gone deep. Too deep, Jeremy. Drifts a little bit wide. Had to get off the throttle there. Not the first time we've seen that with the Corvette today, having trouble getting that car turned.
Yeah, but you know, he was not really under any pressure going into that corner. He'd passed a GTC car on the way in there. Maybe that distracted him a little bit from his braking point. He just, as you say, just left his braking a little bit too late and had to sort of, you know, dive the car in toward the apex a little bit earlier than he would have liked. Then ran a little bit wide, and that meant that he lost quite a bit of momentum. But able to make that pass. Surprising, though.
I'm still not convinced there's maybe a small problem with that Corvette. And whether it's a power steering problem or whether it's an engine problem, whether they're getting something cooking out and maybe he's not getting the engine braking when he's going down through the gearbox, or whether he's not quite. See, again there, he's not saying hello to the apex, is he? Magnussen, apex, Magnussen. Can I introduce you to each other? That's not Jan. You know, Jan is the guy who takes the most pace into an apex of any driver I've ever seen. He looks like an accident waiting to happen a lot of the times, but he deals with it. He's got the skill to deal with it at the apex of the corner. Now that just suggests to me that something is slightly off with that number 3 GM Chevy Corvette.
So we've got these 7 cars still on the lead lap in GT. Number 4, Oliver Gavin. Number 55, Bill Oberlin for BMW. Number 3, the second of the Corvettes, Jan Magnussen. 56, the second BMW with Dirk Müller at the wheel right now. 17, Porsche for Wolf Hensler. The 01 Ferrari, Johannes van Overbeek, and Jörg Bergmeister in that number 45 Porsche. Have a look also in PC. We've still got 5 cars in the lead lap.
Yeah.
We now have 5 cars on the lead lap. In PC is Kyle Marcelli, who leads for Merchant Services Racing. What a fabulous run they have had. And car number 8 in the lead, Bruno Junqueira, by about 27 seconds last time around.
And the leader in P2 is in the pit lane. Antonio Pizzonia for the last stop. He had 51 seconds last time around. That is going to make it very, very tight if they've got to do a driver change and a new set of tyres. I'm not sure they can get out in front of Montagny.
I don't think so. Montagny had been closing up pretty quickly before he came into the pit lane in any case. So in fact, you're right there. I think this is going to hand the advantage back to Level 5 Motorsports.
Yeah, I think they've got to have tyres on the 37. And indeed, Montagny goes through and takes the lead on the start-finish line of the P2 battle. Klaus Graf is just clicking off the laps. He's now on 2:22.
And he was in for a pit stop for his final pit stop, but just a little while ago, 10 laps or so ago. Didn't see it, but it wasn't really consequential to anything. This
long stop for Pizzonia for the 37 car. Very long stop, Jeremy.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah, they've done a good job today, though. Conquest with the Morgan with the Nissan engine. Oh, now. Is that the Lotus? No, that is.
What was it?
I thought the 27 was retired behind the wall. It must be Johnny Cocker in the 27 in the Dempsey racing car.
There was a flash of Pizzonia there coming out of the pit lane. I saw a glimpse of, there it is, orange and grey, that car coming.
He's lost over a minute. He's lost over 2 minutes. It is the 27. It is the 27. Something loose in the car is what Johnny Cotler's just reported on the radio. And that could be full course caution time, mate.
Good.
Meantime,
stand back.
It's David Hennemeyer Hansen who has got into the 37 car to take it to the flag. And that was a 3-minute lap last time around. So that's...
yeah, I think David needs to get in there to do some more time.
Full course caution, Jeremy. With half an hour to go, it's going to be the dash for cash at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Oh, goodness me.
I think they had to make the pit stop around about then for the number 37 car. It's a shame they couldn't wait till this caution came out.
They'll be kicking themselves.
Yeah, but I think they needed to get David Heinemeier-Hansen back behind the wheel of that car to complete enough distance to be qualified for points at the end of this race. There is a minimum driving time. I think it's an hour and 45 minutes, isn't it? By each driver to be eligible to score points. So this is going to make things interesting. Particularly in GT and in PC, and
light the touch paper and stand well back. Right rear suspension we're hearing on the pits radio for the 27, and I think that will be the end of the race now for that car. This is the leader coming up behind the safety car. That's perfect. Now, who has he picked up? Is that Ollie Gavin?
He'll pit at the race leader.
Yes, but who's behind them? Is that Ollie Gavin, or is it? Yes, it is. So great news for us, not for Ollie Gavin. He's just been passed by the leader. Otherwise, he'd have got a lap on the field.
No, because with the wave by and the correction that they make nowadays, everybody else that's on the same lap as the class leading car would have been able to come on past. But it's certainly going to be interesting at the restart, because we're going to have Klaus Graf, who's in a league of his own in any case. He's going to pull away, and he's just going to leave behind him a huge battle for GT honours, and also in the middle of that lot we're going to have the PC cars as well, because they're certainly faster than GT cars, so they are going to have to work their way through. That's going to be that is going to be fun to watch.
Now the cause of this full course caution is the 27. Oh, and that car was going before he went off.
Yeah, just trying to leave some room there.
Look at the right rear. Look at the right rear. I think that he might have had a mechanical problem there.
Well, maybe. It looked like he was also trying to leave some room for, I think it was Christoph Bouchou actually, but who's back in the 055 car. Quite a long way down, but certainly has completed enough laps to score points.
Another chance for me to pass on my best wishes and the thanks of everybody here to all of our safety workers, marshals and corner workers, male or female, volunteers, and without them we can't run motor races anywhere in the world. There's never enough of them, by the way. If you want the best seat in the house for motor racing and you want to really make a difference to our sport, then get in touch with your local branch. And just get in touch with your local branch of the corner workers or marshals, and they'll tell you how to get involved. Well, Johnny Cocker is restarted, and the Dempsey car, just to prove me wrong, is still moving. So despite that report of a right rear problem, Johnny's got it back into pit lane, and maybe it will yet finish this race. It is 4th place in P2. And it's Christoph Bouchou in the 055 car that they're racing. But he's 4 laps back from that car at the moment. Christoph Bouchou got that car back running again, or at least the level 5 team did. This is not good. The engine cover comes off the 27 car.
The tire is flat, is it? Or either the tire is flat?
They may not have seen is Johnny going offline and dropping
Something moved a lot of the right rear.
Right rear? I was looking at the wrong side of the car, Johnny. Excuse me.
37 car is shown on pit lane again as well. It was a long stop. It was over a 3-minute stop just a couple of laps ago. And yeah, here is David Heinemeier-Hansen.
Oh, that's not good. The rear cover is off, and this is 2nd place in P2.
Yeah, he's lost at least 1 lap now, possibly 2.
So the victory, having had that great battle, the victory seems to be slipping away from the 37 car.
Still, once again, for the 2nd race in a row, it's been a fine effort.
David Heinemeier-Hansen did bring the car to pit lane. Even though the pits are closed, he had to limp it home in SOS mode. He's been on the radio with the team. They do have a gearbox issue. They did take the cover off, try to sort it out. They're trying to get him to go back out so they can look at some data and try and get a better handle on this thing. But right now, he's stopped in pit lane. The last pit stop, it did take a long time. They did a driver change, 4 tires, but he also overshot the pit lane, so they had to push the car back before they could do fuel. So what started off as a good day has turned into a bad day for Conquest Racing.
Do you know, it is really, really sad when cars who have had a great run, and it doesn't matter whether it's a 2 hour 45 race or a 24-hour race, but obviously the longer the race, the worse it is. You've had a good run, and within sight of the finish, literally half an hour to go, and these guys have got problems that are dropping them out of contention for the win. Now they've got, well, they haven't got much. They've only got a lap, haven't they? Oh no, where's the next P2?
No, it's a long way down. It's Johnny Cocker and Co. is the next.
Oh, it's Bouchou, yeah.
It's Bouchou now, actually. He's part, yes.
Yeah, it's Bouchou, back up into third. Now that's good points for Tucker.
With that trip into the gravel there for Johnny Cocker, that's moved Bouchou back up into third place in the class, so great points there. I don't think he's, no, he's not going to be able to, no,
he's got to get that car moving, I think.
No, I think they're fine. They've done enough distance. You don't have to take the checkered flag here, unlike at Le Mans, to be classified as a finisher. So I think they've done enough Conquest Endurance, but still, it's very disappointing, as you say, after what has been a magnificent effort by these guys.
Robs us of a bit of action in the end as well. And
but in some ways, I know we're going to have plenty to talk about in PC and GT for sure.
Yeah, we're just greedy though.
Possibly for GTC as well. Got 3 cars on the lead lap there.
The Dyson of Guy Smith is back out and circulating out after all the problems that they had. They had a very long stop a little while ago, and they are in 23rd position overall, second in class. So Heinemeier-Hansen with a problem. Memo Gidley's just coming out of 5th place in PC. The top 4 are still on the lead lap in the PC category. Top 5, in fact. Even Gidley is still on the lead lap.
That's right.
This is electrical, isn't it? These guys are just changing everything now. Oh, no, the Conquest. The Conquest Racing guys have had to come in along pit lane with closed pits as well.
Yeah, not significant really at this stage in the game, because, like I said, I think they've done enough, they've completed enough laps such that they're not going to be able to be caught by Christophe Bouchou with only 23 minutes remaining in the race.
Yeah, what's
so right now it's just a matter of pride, really, trying to get this car back out into the race.
Bouchou's coming around to complete 192, and they have already got in the bank 220, so you're absolutely right.
But no, for a new operation, Eric Bachelard's team hasn't been in sports car racing before, and to come in here with a new car for this season and then to switch engines after the first race, I still think it's been a very, very impressive performance by the Conquest Endurance team. So particularly this guy here, David Heinemeier-Hansen. I mean, he professes himself to be a gentleman racer, but he's done a very respectable job. He's been pretty quick in these cars.
So far, it's a good day for Honda and HPD, with Honda engine cars leading P1 and P2. It's a spec engine in PC, of course. And we'll be back with the conclusion to round 3 of the American Le Mans Series here at Monterey next.
Oh, my mom is everything. I mean, she's endured this entire craziness of motorsports in my life.
Just want to say real quick, happy Mother's Day to my mom. I miss you, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, Mom, thank you very much for all you have done for me in my life, for raising me. And I think you did a pretty good job. And yeah, I'm sorry that I never home on Mother's Day. And hopefully I will be home next year, and then I will think about you and do something special for you.
Always as a kid, my mother would be very supportive in my racing. Certainly grew up ski racing, which is probably why I like road racing so much. And she really cares more about the racing than anything else I do. So it's good. So happy Mother's Day, Mom. I hope you enjoy the race. Hope we have a good finish.
get 40 miles per gallon, most car makers compromise performance. But we're Mazda, and we don't compromise. The Mazda 3 with SkyActiv technology gets 40 miles per gallon highway without economy buttons or compromising how it drives. We build Mazdas. What do you drive? Now get the Mazda 3 with 0.9% APR for a limited term.
Hey, if you're like me, you hate when your gas-powered equipment won't start. It turns out the ethanol in street gas was causing deposits and dissolving my fuel lines. But then I tried SEF small engine fuels. For 2 cycles, SEF is pre-mixed with oil, so you just pour it in and you're done. There's no ethanol in SEF, so you get quick starts even after long-term storage. Try SEF. It's the perfect fuel for gas-powered tools.
Well, the last 18 minutes are still to be completed in the 3rd round of the American Le Mans Series here at Monterey, Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, presented by Tequila Patron. And as we look down on the gathering gloaming as the sun begins to fade gently from the BMW aerial cam, we feel we've been robbed a little bit of a battle in the P2 category, but as we've just look down the timing and scoring screens, that only leaves us 3 classes which are still up for grabs, and a PC with Kyle Marcelli in the 8 car, Junqueira in the 9, Colin Brown in the 05, and his teammate Tom Kimber-Smith in the 06. And don't count out Memo Gidley, who's back in the pits again.
Well, yes.
Though. What's happened there?
Apparently, there's a tweet here actually. That I think he was due a pit stop and he needed to make it round about now, so he had to come in for kind of emergency service, I think, while the pits were closed. So he's coming in one more time here to top him off, so that's going to cost him a lot of track position now.
Ooh, but they're putting a new set of tyres on for him.
Yeah, but as we talked about before, these tyres are so good, they're so durable, they're so consistent, that new tyres doesn't help you quite as much as it would perhaps otherwise. But you know, this is now almost a qualifying setup, I think, for Memo Gidley. So he's going to have some fun, but he's got to work his way all the way through the pack. That's going to be the tricky bit.
It's going to be fun to watch. They're going green this time around, so if he gets a bit of a wiggle on, he can get around and get onto the back just as they go green. That's that old trick that you do in all the online and sim racing. You get so far behind and then you come round flat out while everybody else is still getting up to speed. You've come round like the clapper's got loads of temp in your tyres. So Klaus Graf leads by just 3 laps now over Frank Montani, who's the P2 leader in 2nd place. Then the PC leader in 3rd place is Kyle Marcelli.
He won P2 PC.
Yes.
Class leaders at the front.
Well, that's how it should be in terms of the pace of the cars. The battles then, PC, as we've mentioned, 8, 9, 0, 5, 0, 6 and 5. And the GT categories, of which now surely the fuel worries must have abated with this caution, has 4 Ollie Gavin, 5 BMW, 55 BMW Bill Oberlin, 3 Jan Magnussen in the Corvette, 56 GT BMW is Dirk Muller, then Hensler in the 17. Those 5 are all line astern as they go across to retake the green flag.
But Janus van Overbeek, he must have made a pit stop there, I think presumably for fresh tyres as well, so he's in the battle there as well, along with Jörg Bergmeister. Both of those 2 cars are shown as being on the pit lane last time around.
Okay. Sad to say that Enemeyer Hansen in the 37 has not got back out of the pits yet, so that nightmare for all race teams, the electrical gremlin, has popped up but remains invisible at the moment. So there's the GT battle as we look down on it from the BMW aerial camera. Ollie Gavin, Oberlin, Magnussen, Müller, Dirk Müller, Wolf Hensler.
Yeah, so as it was through much of the practice sessions, it's Corvette and BMW, and then Corvette and BMW. They've been neck and neck all the way through the weekend, and we've seen various other interlopers in there at various different stages of the weekend. And it comes down to the nitty-gritty now, and it's those four, I think, that are going to be battling it out for the lead. But there is, as you say, Wolf Hensler in that Falcon Tires car. He's right in it, not far behind them as well.
Just pounced there. Of course, the big question for me is what happened to the B in Jörg Bergmeister's cockpit?
Yeah, maybe as like I say, he was just on the pit lane. Maybe the flies.
Oh no, there he is. He's right in behind Hensler. He's right in behind Hensler, I think, as they go. Oh, look at this, and again, somebody having to drop wheels in the pit lane, and the Corvette has a look, he can be at the brake deeper. He's going to just push that prototype straight off there. He's got more mechanic. He's got more mechanical grip. The problem there is, you go deeper into the corner in the prototype, but as the aero comes off, you can't get the car stopped. And just as you're not being able to stop, the GT cars have got more mechanical grip. And that was an interesting pass.
I'm not sure how Frank Montagni's going to react to that one.
We've got about 10 to go. Trying to bring it home. I'll watch them.
Flat spot on the tyres. Now, for which car? That's the question. That was the 3 car. Thanks to Bubba Clark, who's listening in. So Bubba Clark telling us that the 3 car has got a flat spotted tyre.
But he has.
I'm not surprised. I would think all 4, yes. Magnussen then pushing his way through. Nice the way he used. Yeah, well, I like the way he used Montani just to keep Oberlin out of his way. Yeah. Well, we had a snooker shot, a billiard shot earlier on when we had. I'm not sure what that was. I'm not sure what analogy that you can put for that. Let's have another look at this and see what we make of this.
Oh, and in the thick of that, like, yeah, let's have a look at it again from the onboard.
Right, now wait for the prototype. There it is on the left. That's Frank Montani putting a little bit of a naughty move on. Oh, he touched Oberlin, in fact. They both brake. And
there's no way Bill Oberlin can't turn in because that's quite amusing.
That is, I mean, look at the way.
That's what you call an opportunistic pass.
Magnussen thinks there's going to be a gap up the inside if I can get to it. Oh, I've just made it bigger. Excellent.
I don't know about that. That's classic.
He's still having trouble.
And right behind him there, the number 8 car there, that is the class leader in PC. So let's not lose track of that. We talked about it earlier on. They're going to have to work their way through these GT cars. And not very far back down the road is Bruno Junqueira. There is Bruno Junqueira, the red car. And at the top of the screen there, the white and yellow car. That is Carl Marcelli. That is a battle for PC.
And with that move, which was very much akin to bump and run,
fabulous,
I think, to use an American sports analogy.
Jan will be proud of that one.
Well, I think he may have just pushed himself up into the hard charger award reckoning for that one, the Battery Tender Hard Charger Award, which we give out at the end of every race. That was outstanding.
He's got the other contender there, Bruno Junqueira, right with him. He's making the pass down to the inside.
Smooth.
His sight set on.
Oh, hang on, here's Montani. Here's Montani coming back at Magnussen. And I bet he's going to look across to him there. Yes, he is. You saw the flick of the head. My goodness, that Corvette's quick. Well, he's gone through. Has Montani. He's got second place to think about.
Area now.
And he's gone deep again. And again, though, I still think there's something not quite right with that Corvette, because Jan is having a problem getting it turned into the apex of the corner. Damage to that.
That's Colin Brown there, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's damaged at the back. Look at the left rear, Jeremy.
Yes, it is.
Now, that wasn't Jan. That's been flapping for a little while. The 2 BMWs are together now, of course. That's Dirk Müller and Bill Oberlin, or Bill Oberlin and Dirk Müller. I should put them in the right order. Wolf Hensler is still only a second and a half behind them. Amazing how Muller's car's held together with the absence of that rear valance and the whole of the under tray flapping around. Here There are the two BMWs at the top of the hill. There's Hensler. Behind him is Bergmeister, and that is a battle for... Well, that's not, is it? It's the 44 car that's coming through. That's Marco Holzer, who's got by Bryce Miller. They've been racing for some time, and he's pulled out about 3.5 seconds on Bryce, so he's taken 9th position. Marco warming up nicely for the Nürburgring 24 next weekend.
There's this battle for PC right in amongst these leaders in GT. This is tremendous stuff going on there. We see it's still Carl Marcelli who leads, but by less than 2 seconds that time around from Bruno Junqueira, the car number 8, pursued by the car number 9. And then the two core Autosport cars, Colin Brown in the 05, he's only about a second behind Bruno Junqueira. And then Tom Kimber-Smith, who's been uber fast all weekend in the 06 car, he's only about another 3 or 4 seconds back as well.
Ollie Gavin is having a great run. He took his opportunity when he could and got away. Meantime, his teammate in second place, some 6 seconds now behind the leader.
Yeah, Gavin and Milner, they won the last time out, didn't they, at Long Beach? So looking for 2 in a row here. That would be enough. If they can do that, that would be enough to move them into the lead in the GT standings, currently held by Dirk Müller and Joey Handel, car number 56, currently running in 4th place in GT.
The GDC battle's opened out a bit with Blekemolen, Jerome Blekemolen in the 66 Racers Group car, now with a 7-second lead.
Yes, but with James Sofronis having moved past Michael Avenatti into 2nd place.
Yeah. In PC, our battle refuses to lie down, with Kyle Marcelli still only having a 1.5 seconds lead over Bruno Junqueira, and then about the same back to Colin Brown. Tom Kimber-Smith's not out of that, you know.
Very much not, and he's been very, very quick all weekend long. He's not making much of an impression. A little bit quicker, a second quicker that time around than Colin Brown. All 4 cars in the contention for PC. The last lap time around was within about half a second or so of each other, as one would expect, closely matched cars. The Memo Gidley is about a half a minute back, having made that pit stop right at the end of that last caution period. There is another battle for position. That's the 25 car, which is quite a long way back now. It's 7th place in PC, and Dempsey Racing car number 25. Jan Magnussen trying to hold on to that 2nd place. Oliver Gavin was 5 seconds down the road now. Jan Magnussen trying to hold on. He's a little bit second advantage, as we can see right here as he comes through the corner. Certainly not under any real pressure now. It's going to be 10-12 car lengths between himself and the first of the 2 BMWs.
All of a sudden, the GT battle is the embers that I thought were going to explode have just settled back down into a simmer mode again. At the moment, it's the 2 BMWs who are closer together. Now this is a real battle.
It's two P2 cars between the 2 leaders. So here's on the left of the screen, the yellow and white car. That is Kyle Marcelli, who leads in PC. Then a couple of P2 cars that were battling amongst themselves, but now Bruno, actually the Heinemeier Hansen has dropped out of that. So the red car, 3rd in this group as they go around turn 6. That is Bruno Junqueira trying to track down the number 8 car of Kyle Marcelli, and right behind them 2 is Colin Brown, and only about another couple of seconds behind now is Tom Kimber-Smith, who was quickest of them all last time around by a goodly margin, actually. Kyle Marcelli, yikes. That's the 055 car, so it's out of contention for anything here. Just don't do anything silly and mess up, but he's a great battle.
Well, the 055 car is in 3rd place in P2, don't forget.
Yep.
And that car, a lot of people would have given that up, but they've fought back to get points for Scott Tucker there. Yep. They had to get that car back out, and they've done it. And they're only 35 laps off the overall leader, so they're well within the 70% on a 237. It's going to be about 240 laps. So they're going to be well within the 70%.
Yep, good work there by Level 5 Motorsports. It looked like quite extensive damage on that car, but they have got it back out into the fray.
The Corvette has gone back into second place.
Oh, it's been in second place.
Of course it has.
1-2, but there is, there's, I think that gap's come down a little bit, hasn't it? The BMWs, I think,
they are closing them
now a little bit closer.
Ollie Gavin leading out with the 4 car with the black shade band.
Super job, both he and Tommy Milner. Boy, he's really stepped up his game this year, Tommy Milner. He was so proud of his lap yesterday in qualifying. I saw him this morning, and he was still beaming from ear to ear from that lap he put together yesterday, because it was so close in GT. The Aston Martin somehow had a bit of an advantage there, but this was a great lap by Tommy, and he's showing that he's very much part of this Corvette team now. He's, like I say, he really has stepped up his game this season.
The battery tender hard charger awards goes to the bump and run of Jan Magnussen. I'll have this position if you don't mind, Oberlin, and if I've got to push Frank Montani out of the way, I am going to do it. That's a classic, isn't it? That's just made the highlights reel for the Bill Oberlin's going.
But if that had been the battle for if Montani's car had been that, if Montani had been the GT car and he'd made that move, he might have got a bit of penalty for that one. So interesting. Look at that, not too far back. Is
again
5th and 6th too.
Just once in a while, that Corvette seems somewhat recalcitrant to go and say hello to the apex. And I still wonder whether they've been battling. We heard a snippet of a radio message earlier on about clicking something into emergency mode. Oh, and off. That's the 18 car. That's Ricardo Vera. And we're being told he'll be left there for the last 3.5 minutes. No full course caution. Yeah, I just wonder if the Corvette's got a little niggly problem, maybe a power steering problem or something like that.
Yeah, could be, couldn't it? It's certainly...
It's clearly intermittent. Oh, here's the PC battle. Look at this. Junqueira in the red car is the leader.
Yes, he is.
And behind him
is Colin Brown. And in third place now, all of a sudden, is Kyle Marcelli. It happened a couple of laps ago. Where and how, we can't tell you. We didn't see it. But it is Bruno Junqueira who's got himself back, despite a couple of unscheduled pit stops. He's got himself in the lead of this class. And Colin Brown, who drives that car, you can see the damage on the left rear of Colin Brown's car. But whoa, I think that's third and fourth, both running off the road there at the exit. And Bruno Junqueira, they're defending his position a little bit into turn 5. In fact, the officials might have a look at that one too. He's already had one penalty, Bruno Junqueira.
I think at this stage of the race, you've got to be allowed to defend. So long as, look at the back of Marcelli's car. That's been developing over the last few laps as well.
Right behind these two, we've got the top 4 cars in PC covered by less than 2 seconds. At least they were until they went into turn 4 that time. And the 3rd and 4th place cars both put at least a couple of wheels off the dirt. Look at this, splitting the GTC car, and around the outside goes Colin Brown in a quite magnificent move.
Hang on a second, can I have that hard charger award that we just give to Magnussen?
Wow.
That is fantastic for the lead of the class. And if you're going to take the lead of the class, you need to do it in a spectacular way. Watch the car on the right-hand side closest to us. My goodness me, how much speed did he take the apex there, Jeremy? That was very, very brave indeed. Junqueira could barely keep it on the road, but somehow Kyle Marcelli not only got by, but got the car turned in.
Wow, that was absolutely superb. Oh dear. Is that...
Up in turn 3.
That's Kyle Marcelli.
That is the 3rd place car. So Colin Brown leads from Junqueira, and Marcelli.
He was under pressure.
Well, that's going to put Tom Kimber-Smith. Yeah, Kimber-Smith was right there. Oh my goodness, this is...
So it's Kyle Marcelli. He still maintains the advantage there going into turn 2 into the Marandretti hairpin. But now let's see what happens as they brake hard for turn 3.
Kimber-Smith on the inside.
To the inside.
Oh, here's the angle. Kimber-Smith to the left, Marcelli to the right. They're side by side. Oh, was he close enough? Was he close enough? That was for 3rd and 4th position.
Yeah.
I think that may have been that's the end of the race. But
yeah, we need to get back to that battle for the lead. Yeah, the white flag is out, but that battle between Colin Brown and Bruno Junqueira isn't over yet.
No, it's not. Absolutely, absolutely. Dennis Paul, the man with the white flag in his hand. There is our leader, Klaus Graf. He's got half a lap to go, and Junqueira and Brown were a second and a half between them across the line. I have a suspicion it won't be that quite now.
It has been a wonderful drive though by Klaus Graf and Lucas Luhr. They've not put a foot wrong. They've had the fastest car in the race, but they've taken full advantage of it, John.
Two drivers have...
Awesome job.
And the Piggin Muscle Milk Racing team have dominated this race. Two drivers have done the job. Now here comes the PC battle. And Junqueira has got... Is that Kimber Smith?
Yeah,
it is. So that's first, second and third. So Junqueira, now in second in the red car, may just about hold on to this. Gets a big sideways slide through 10. Now, has he got any grip coming out of turn 11? And the dash for the line. It's a long way to the finish line. Here comes Tom Kimber Smith. He's got a slightly better run out of turn number 11. It is going to be Colin Brown who wins it. And going through in second is Junqueira, but only by 0.2 of a second. In the GT category, always action, and Ollie Gavin in the number 4 GM Chevy Corvette. It'll be a 1-2. Oh, it may not be a 1-2 because behind him, Magnussen has got Bill Oberlin right on his tailpipes, and Oberlin comes sideways out of the final corner. He can't get the grip, and it will be Gavin from Magnussen, and Bill Oberlin holds on to third position. We'll have reaction coming up next.
Not just what we gave the new Corvette 427 that makes it special. It's what we didn't.
Hi, I'm Dennis Gage, and I gotta tell you about a smart charging system that keeps my entire fleet of machines on call at all times. It's called Battery Tender, and it's not just for my classic cars. Deltran battery tenders have a microprocessor that monitors everything. It never overcharges. It just takes batteries up to a full charge and keeps them there. So whether it's cars, motorcycles, mowers, or ATVs, Battery Tender keeps them all ready for action. If it's not a Deltran battery tender, it's just a pretender.
Well, I think we've got our breath back after a stunning last segment of the American Le Mans Series Monterey at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. There's always at least one class to give us a great finish in multi-class racing. That's one of the joys of having more than one category. And some new winners as well. We'll talk to those in a moment as the celebrations begin down on pit lane. What a fantastic 6-hour event. Some new winners, as I say, later on. But first of all, a familiar face to the top step of the podium. And it's Klaus Graf.
Second victory of the year for Klaus Graf and Lucas Lohr. Klaus, you're going to leave this event now with the points lead in the P1 category. What momentum does this give you through the summer?
Well, I mean, it's great going into the break like this, and I mean, Massimo crew did an awesome job today. I mean, 6 hours here, even though we could pace it a little bit, but it's still not easy. You have to still maintain your speed and make no mistakes. So, great day for the home race here. We never won this race before, so it's awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, the GT category, again, never fails to disappoint, does it, across the whole of the race. And it's a 1-2 for Corvette Racing, 3-4 for the BMWs. Extreme Motorsports, Extreme Speed Motorsport in 5th position, good result for them. And it was a long run back for the 45 Flying Lizard, including carrying an unauthorised passenger, that Honeybee, with Jörg Bergmeister towards the end. And Ollie Gavin is the man who brought the car home and stands now ready to smile and take the plaudits.
It's back-to-back wins for the number 4 Corvette, and Oliver Gavin brings it home to the checkered flags. You guys survived some impossible pit stops to make this happen. You seem especially emotional with this victory. Why is that?
Oh, I don't know. The car today was fantastic. Our Corvette was brilliant. You know, the guys did a brilliant job with it. You know, Tommy drove fantastic in the middle of the race there. You know, back-to-back wins for him. You know, we get the first one, Long Beach, second one now at Laguna. So pleased. You know, 6-hour race, a lot of ups and downs. It was tough, but great victory for us here at Corvette.
Tommy, it came down to the closing moments, even though it was a 6-hour race. For you, what was the biggest challenge today?
You know, my first stint was pretty easy, so to speak, but then my second stint was pure chaos here. We had a little trouble in the pit lane there, but the Corvette guys never give up, and we fought back, and here we are in P1 again.
All right, congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Not such a good hockey result for Tommy's connections today, as the big smiles are out. GTC, well, again, new winners there, with Curtis and De Guida both on the top step for the first time for TRG. Blake Mullen drafted into that squad. Good run for GMG from the back of the grid, remember, and all of those guys doing well, with Competition Motorsports a strong 3rd. Paul Sitters down in 5th for Faulkner, Lasafra and Blake Mullen. Don't forget they had a problem with a tyre and some brake problems. Otherwise, I think they would have been in the mix as well. And Tarakoki has the GTC winners.
Jean, congratulations. There was some fierce competition out there. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, it was a great race. I mean, it was a tough battle all day. There were many good drivers and good teams and good cars out there. So it's not easy to win a race like this, and I'm so happy. Everything worked out perfectly. We all did good stints, and pit stops were great. So yeah, we just enjoyed it a lot.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Nice to see happy people.
Yeah, and great, you know, Brett Curtis and Emilio De Guida there in the middle. Emilio's got a lot of winning in his native Venezuela. He's struggled a little bit in these cars, made a few mistakes on and off, but you know, today he brought it. He gave a good car to these other guys. You know, it was certainly Jerome Blakemont did the lion's share of the work there, no doubt about that. But again, a good team effort.
In Prototype 2 category, again, a very interesting battle, and the Level 5 guys had their work cut out all day, keeping the cars on the track. 2nd place overall and winning the class, the 95 car for Luis Diaz and for Scott Tucker, and Frank Montani, of course, listed in that driving squad as well.
It was certainly a strange day throughout the P2 category. A lot of ups and downs, especially for this number 95 car. Luis Diaz, how would you describe this victory?
Well, you know, it's almost give me a heart attack, you know, after all, like you say, ups and downs. But I think Level 5 team did a great job. Scott, Frank drove a great race. I think we didn't make mistakes. We try to keep the car clean, but you know, this is a big fight between all the classes, all the drivers, but it's very nice to finish at the top of the podium.
Colin Braun claims his first American Le Mans Series victory. Colin, this one was back and forth all the way to the checkered flag. How hard were you working?
Man, I was working hard. You know, Gary Davies and EVB, they all gave me a really good car today. This Core Autosports car was surely quick at times. You know, if in the middle of a race, after my first stint, you would have told me we were going to win the race, I would have said, no way, I don't think we have the car to do it. But John did a great job in this thing in the middle of the race, and we were able to stay in contention and be there to capitalize and push hard at the end. And it's great to get our first win as a team for me and John. It's awesome.
Round 3 of the 2012 American Le Mans Series is in the books. For Jamie Howe, Kelly Stavis, Justin Bell, I'm Brian Till. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you don't miss a moment, don't miss a lap of American Le Mans Series competition. You'll find it right here. We'll see you at the next event. So long, everyone.